Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. It's a little quiet. I'm used to there being a little game audio in the background. Today, we're talking about what's going on with ESO, the future of ESO, and I also want to do a bit of a reaction and talk a bit about Nephis. Recently, did a video, and a lot of people have mentioned this to me, and we've talked about it. And I'm sorry, they've told me about it rather, and so I actually want to listen to the whole thing and kind of talk about it. So we're going to start off though today with just the director's letter. If I can get a just a huge favor from everybody, I know we have several people that are that are here. If you guys, especially on YouTube, could just drop me a comment to make sure that everything's coming up okay, I would really appreciate that. And I'm just going to double check and make sure that we are good over on Twitch as well. All right, looks like we're going good on Twitch. Looks like YouTube is also going well. So this is the year-end letter from Matt Ferror. He is the he does this every year. He's the person in charge of ESO, so not just the creative director, that would be Rich Lambert, but overall of the in charge of the development team. And I just want to talk about it, read through this letter. I have only seen a couple parts of this. I haven't read the whole thing, just haven't really taken the time to look at it. But this is the studio director's letter, which is Matt's title here. So welcome everyone to the Elder Scrolls Online community. As the year is drawing to a close, I'm going to take some time to walk through my thoughts on 2004 and look ahead to 2025 and how ESO will be evolving to meet the changing needs of the community. A quick note here for everybody. These letters, this is marketing. Okay, I don't, it's a little perplexing to me why they do everything they do, but this is fairly standard. This is marketing though. So when you read this, I'll be translating some of the marketing nonsense for you guys into plain English. Hey, Hamura, Angry, thank you both. I appreciate it. Awesome, cool. Looks like everything is going good. Awesome. Thank you both. First, a few notes here about 2024. I probably say this every year, but 2024's ESO content was among my favorite. I love the vibe and story of Golden Road, and now that Home Tours is allowing me to see so many other people's homes, I'm seriously considering making Maryvine Estate my main house. Although it will take a lot to unseat me from the Mornoth Keep. 2024 showed me that we are still creating wonderful content for all our players. We ended the year with 2 new companions. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of this. Like, he's just saying, hey, look what we've done. I'm just going to kind of skim because, I mean, if we've been playing, right, we kind of know what's going on. And again, it's just marketing. Hey, Wiedemeyer, what's going on? I need Cloud Rituals badly. No one ever does VCR. I was wondering, it was a wonderful time to spend. It was wonderful to spend. I'm going to slow down a moment. It was wonderful to spend time with fans in person in April at our Amsterdam 10th year anniversary event. And for team members, sadly I could not make it to attend the Germany ESO Tavern in July. We had many other smaller regional community events, some for the first time in their territories sprinkled throughout the year, where fans of the game got to meet one another and share stories about their shared time in Tamriel. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm dyslexic. This is difficult for me, so just forgive me. I just need to slow down and take a moment to make sure I actually am reading the words. And I will note here about the tavern event and other things like that. So I don't keep up with all these real life events and everything and what's going on. And however, I have friends who do and are really interested in it, other guild leaders, in fact, of pretty large guilds who are really interested in this kind of stuff. And they told me they were pretty upset on multiple occasions because they really wanted to go to some of these events and they made it hard to impossible for them to go to the events by, I think, not, announcing the times early enough. And if you're one of these people and there are reasons, please drop them in chat because I don't keep up with this, but I think there's some valid reasons. I'm just not entirely sure. And I don't want to if I say the wrong thing, also please correct me. But I think it was like not having enough time. They're adults with jobs and having to take off, a week or whatever, and then buy tickets to fly overseas and everything else. Maybe the Germany one was announced ahead of time, but they had a lot of problems of even being able to get to go to a lot of these events. There was also one in Vegas, I think, this last year, but I've had some friends that were really upset because they care a lot about the Elder Scrolls. They're really huge fans, and even though like me, they might have problems with the games and things that they don't like, they really wanted to be able to go to these events and meet people in person and talk to some of the developers and everything else. And it seemed like these things were meant to be private or semi-private or what have you. And then I've also got comments from people that did get to go and these are anecdotal, so take them with a grain of salt. But that they didn't have, they got a chance to speak to some of the developers, and they didn't have a good experience. Now, it could be that those people went and, I get all kinds of, comments in YouTube, right? So I understand there's a plethora of people, and sometimes people don't understand what's going on with the game, and they get frustrated with something, and it's like, no, you misunderstood, and it's not really anybody's fault but your own that you misunderstood this thing, but they're very mad about it. And so maybe they went up to the developers and had an experience like that, but the developer, a couple of them didn't handle it particularly well, and this person felt very rejected. And whenever I get those comments, I try to some I ignore, but some I just give kind of a generic answer like, "Hey, I've seen your message. I understand. I'm not going to try to explain to you because I don't think your reaction seems very emotional maybe." And that's basically what I heard, that hey, they were coming in complaining to one of the developers about combat, and they might not even be complaining to someone who's in the combat team. And they got kind of they didn't like the response, so it's kind of interesting. Hey Nani, hey Ghetto, what's going on? White Shrake starts tomorrow, stay tuned. Love Zoss. Zoss doesn't even give notice to events, sometimes only a few days. Okay, thank you, Widamar. That's the sort of thing that I think I've heard is like, okay, how can I go to this event? And so basically what that means is these events, while not being private, are essentially private, right? Because they've, flown people out, all the various community members and what have you, and people that really want to go, unless you got an invite, you can't go. A couple of days notice is not, it's not enough. And now it is time to look forward, which will oh my gosh, I need to slow down, which will comprise most of this year's message. Change is a constant, especially in gaming. The game industry changes, players' habits change, other games come and go. In fact, change has been a constant since ESO launch in 2024. These are just like flowery words to intro stuff. Sure, we have been able to keep up with the times, make hard decisions and big changes when it was time to make them. Looking back at all the changes that have gotten us here, it is pretty clear that we have generally made the right decisions at the right times for our game. Oh, wait a minute. Looking back on all the changes that have gotten us here, it's pretty clear that we have generally made the right decisions at the right times for our games. Time out. I'm going to sip my tea. Hold on. Oh man, this tea's delicious. Oh man. I think most people that play a lot of ESO do not feel what do you guys think? Tell me in chat. Am I wrong? Do you guys feel like this is this is odd too. Like this is really like, man, don't hurt yourself. Don't like tear a rotator cuff patting yourself on the back. Oh man. I don't know who wants to hear this. Is this for like is this for the like employees telling them that like we as the people in charge have made the right decisions, and so if you're like an employee and you disagree with this, like you should know that you're wrong and we're right? Is it like I feel gaslit as like a player who knows that this is not generally true. I don't think that for most people, it's certainly not for me, certainly not for a lot of the people I know. I do feel a little gaslit by this. Oh man. I'm sorry, I'm cracking up here. Oh man. Okay, let me read chat here so I can compose myself. The changes are only a result of our meltdowns after they put Crapola in the PTS every patch. 100% true. Yeah, they are just a result. Yeah, like they did stuff and it was so crazy. It's like, yeah, we've ranted and raved for years, or you guys did something that was so bad that people, you could see it in the metrics, and so you decided to do something different. Yeah, wow, okay. All right. And now we are looking forward to 2025. Cool. Let's look forward. Oh, great. What's Datrick have to say? This post would be so much better if they announced Witch Hunter ascendancy. All right, all right. Time out. Okay, all right. I'm sorry, guys. I really am cracking up, but it really is hard. I'm like tearing up to read this seriously. Okay, and now we're looking forward to 2025 and how we can change ESO to keep it relevant, awesome, and compelling. Oh. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, guys, that you're tuning in to see me like a streamer laughing so much. That's not good content. We'll get serious here. Okay, I can't look at chat right now. I'm afraid Daedric said something else funny, and I don't want to. I don't want to. We're getting serious. All right, since 2017, we have. I like want to look at chat now. I'm going to put my hand out. Okay, since 2017, we have released amazing content and systems every year. Sure. Yeah. Okay. I mean, they've tried every year. That's the important thing, but always on the same schedule. Okay. This annual cadence pushed the team to focus on short deadlines every June, where all types of content, system, content, zones, etc., had to be completed at the same time and has not left us much time for experimentation or thinking about things differently. So this is, this is interesting. I think people have in the past they've talked about this schedule, and games companies do this. Hey, Canadian, hey Goose, what's going on? I looked at chat and I saw funny things. You guys. All right, you keep them coming, but I just can't look. We'll read them all in a second, okay? So they release content every year. I think people they talked about this before. I feel like maybe I'm wrong in past years where they've talked about um oh my god, I'm gonna have to hide chat just because I can't not look. How do I not look? Okay, I'm sorry guys, we'll get to it in a second. Where they've released content, and I'm sorry, they've talked about like the content schedule. Other games companies have done this. If ZOS has not, I think ZOS has, where they're like, oh yeah, well, we got this content schedule. Yeah, no, I remember actually saying this. And the thing is like it's self-imposed, right? They they could choose to do something different here if they wanted to, and it's like, oh, we're onto the strain. So okay, maybe they've realized that, hey, this does cause problems and what have you, and with short deadlines and whatever. Okay, I've composed myself. Let me look at these comments here, and let's read them out. This post would be so much better if they had. Okay, Witch Hunter sent us a yeah. We have investigated ourselves and cleared ourselves of any wrongdoing. Mike, 100%. How can they be this out of touch? Yeah, Ghetto. It's surprising for some people. I think some of us who have been following this stuff all often, I feel like as a content creator, I follow so much more behind the scenes stuff. And I think we'll see that a little bit more when we look at Nefis's video a little bit later, where, and I found this out from friends where they're like, oh, they tell me about things they just learned. And I'm like, oh, most people don't know that. Okay. I didn't realize that. I don't know. I've known this for a while because, it's what I do and I have to spend time looking at this. I'm actually, oops, sorry there. Scroll back up. And so it's like, okay, yeah, I knew some of this stuff was going on, but yeah, it's not entirely a surprise to a lot of us, I think. Daedric says something funny. Nurse followed by unnurse, followed by extra nurse, followed by changes for reasons. AB, I don't know what that means, but I assume changes for no reason. I don't know. Nern slash charge to charge. Yeah. Yeah, that didn't really make any sense. And then Wampus self-licking lollipop. ESO is a self-licking lollipop. I haven't heard that phrase in a while since I was in the military. Here for the laughs. Okay, all right, Goose, cool, good to hear it, man. All right, so yeah, whatever. It's all good. As evidenced by. Oh, okay. So nurse followed by changes for reasons as evidenced by nerd. Okay, so yeah, just nurse. Yeah, sure. Um, at the end of the year last year, we gave a slight heads up that we would be shaking things up. Our lead times are so long that we were already planning for some of these changes back then. And I'm very happy to say that starting in 2025, you'll see new ideas and ways of launching content start rolling out. Yeah, they're changing things up. So I think that what a lot of us has suspected for a long time is that ESO is kind of, it's 10-year anniversary. They did a big thing. What do you follow up with that, right? They finally put in some content that they were trying to put in at launch. Only took them 10 years. So they got it in the game now, and I think that a lot of them feel like, okay, well, I think a lot of us feel like ESO is, going into maintenance mode, so to speak, right? Not adding new content, just going into maintenance mode. And I'm sure they're going to try to spin this some other way, but that's really what I feel like a lot of us think. I don't know if that's actually happening. Certainly ZeniMax Online is never going to say that, right? They're never going to say, because they would lose people as soon as they said that. So they would never say that. They're not gonna, they're gonna spin it any number of other ways. And so the only way I think we'll be able to know for sure, while we might suspect that's what's happening, is just by evidence of what they've done or what they're doing. And so we'll have to see. Another thing about these notes and everything like this, and Zoss telling us about what they're going to do in the future, is that I did a video on this last year when they were talking about the 10th year anniversary. The most important thing for them is that we have enough information to get excited about, but not to actually know what's going on. Because if we know what's going on, then we can be happy or sad about it. And depending on if they say, okay, we're going to release 2 new trials, all my friends who run trials are going to be like, yeah, more trials, right? And everybody who doesn't care about trials, most of the community, is going to be like, why are they wasting time making more trials? Okay, so instead what they want to do is just allude to things that are going to be new that everybody is going to like, and then just give us a little bit of information, but not enough to know what it is, so that all of us, no matter what you're into, no matter what you like, you'll think that, it's going to be the thing that I like. And we can all, and we've all seen comments in the forums and YouTube videos, at least I have, in various places where, or talk to people, they're like, oh, I think what they're going to do. And then someone has like got this idea in their head that, like, it's like a murder board, right? And they're like, oh no, they said this and they said this and they said this, so I think they're going to redo all of Tamriel and add another planet. And you're like, wait, what? And they're like, no, hear me out. And you're like, okay. And they've kind of convinced themselves that's what they want. They want to keep the hype up. It's marketing. It's marketing, one way or the other. I don't particularly like it. I prefer, some little bit of mystery. Mystery is like good, but there are games that do it in a way that doesn't feel very slimy. ESO, middle of the road. The bar is low, but it's like middle of the road. It's not horrible. So at the end of last year, we gave a slight heads up that we would be shaking things up. Our leads. Oh wait, do we do all this? Our lead times have been so long. Oh no, we didn't read this. Okay, our lead times are so long that we were planning ahead for some of these changes back then. I'm very happy to say that starting in 2025, you'll see new ideas and ways of launching content start rolling out. Hey, Robert. Robert says, actually, I'm sorry, let me catch up. Bro, don't make my ears perk up with 2 trials. I'm sorry, Daedric. I'm sorry, man. And then Robert says, it's really nice to hear measured approaches to the future notes. It's not like they're going to tell us absolutely everything in advance. Yeah, 100%. And then Whittemar says, since you're playing ESO a lot, is your guild that want the boss still act? Oh my gosh, I can't read. Since you're playing ESO a lot, is your guild that wasn't the boss still active? Oh, okay. My guild name was in here and it confused me. Let's not insert trolling for that. I don't see a lot of traffic on Discord. I'm in for the clear, so I'm lurking. Yeah, I mean, we're still active. For anybody who doesn't know, I do run a trials guild. That's pretty much all we do. It's not necessarily ideal for a brand new player. I hope that it's very good for anybody who wants to get into trials. If you're trying to get into trials, and we're talking about vet trials, because normal trials are just like dungeons, basically. There's just 12 people, so they're really pretty quick. I don't know if you don't see a lot of Discord traffic. That might be somewhat. There could be. I mean, I can show you the channels we have, and I think most of these are active right now. So I mean, these are past. I need to go through and delete some of these. We had some Christmas Eve, but I mean, these are all of. I mean, these are recent trials. Maybe a few of these need to be taken away. And then this is actually the Helldivers. We have kind of other channels. We have help channels. The help channels have been a little bit quietly recently, but we've got some other games as I start playing. I'm looking forward to Dune Awakening. I didn't even I did a video on Dune Awakening. If you're interested, you should check out Dune Awakening. It's going to be a survival MMO. Should be in beta in early this next next year. I did a video on it covering there's a lot of good information because I got to talk to the developers at a couple of different things. Helldivers, we've done some Civ. Civ, I need to do more of a little PoE. There's a lot of us who are playing PoE and what have you. But yeah, we're still. I mean, Nani runs. How many? Nani, are you there? How many trials do you run a week right now? And that wasn't the boss. I know I'm in 2 or 3 that I'm typically running, and then I drop in on some others. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff there if you're interested at all. So yeah, plenty going on there. I appreciate you asking and checking on it. At least one a day and multiple times on the weekends. Okay, so just one of our raid leads, who's of course Nani is awesome, and she's our the raid lead who does the most, but she's doing 10 trials a week. So there's plenty in there. The problem is that there are so many people that want to do those sort of things. There's never enough raid leads for anything, and so it can be a bit hard. Yeah, hey Chicken, what's going on, man? I'm a mid-range. I'm mid-range IMO, looking into trials, but not quite ready yet. I was playing a lot of Helldivers too, but lately a lot of Marvel Rivals and ESO. I need to try Marvel Rivals. Daedric has been playing it, telling me about it. So is Mr. Me. I need to give it a shot. Yeah, more communication with a beta game than ZOS in 10 years. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, ZOS doesn't communicate a whole lot. The reason for that. The reason for that, the communication, so there are typically 2 styles, and this is very broad strokes of communication with a marketing team in gaming. And actually, applies to most businesses, actually pretty much all businesses. And I'm sure there's a lot more that could be said, and this is a very oversimplified thing or whatever. But generally speaking, there are 2 ways of approaching it. Okay, so if I am a company and I am making a product that I'm really into and I'm really behind, and I think it's a good product. I'll give you a real world example. I play tabletop role playing games. There's a company called Dwarven Forge that makes little terrain items, and they make the best terrain items on the market. These things you can literally stomp on them and they're fine, but you can also paint them and they look really good. They're made out of this rubberized material, and it's like rubberized plastic or whatever. Incredible product. All Dwarven Forge needs to do for someone like me is tell me about their product. And if there is any issues with their product, all they need to do is be like, oh, something came out weird. Oh, that's weird. Well, we'll send you a replacement. That's all they need to do. And I will tell everybody in the world about how Dwarven Forge is the best, tabletop, miniature terrain out there. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's modular. You can do all kinds of super cool stuff with it. You can combine taverns with the city building scapes, whatever. If you make a really good product, all you have to do for marketing is tell people about your product. That's it. Helldivers. I think Helldivers is an awesome game. I love it. I want to play more of it. All the developers have to do for Helldivers is communicate with the audience. And people have gotten really mad at Helldivers. I wasn't one of them, but they responded. And they responded incredibly quickly. I recently did a video just over Christmas where they did something where I didn't like the monetization, and I made a video about it. And before I could release the video, they updated and said, "Hey guys, they were like, yeah, some of you aren't happy about it, whatever." And they gave away a bunch of stuff that they were going to put in their store. They just gave it away. They just said, hey, yeah, they want to have good relationship with their customers, and they feel like they messed up on the monetization, and so they just gave away a bunch of free stuff. Crazy. ESO ZOS would never do that. Not in a million friggin' years would they do something like that. So, hearing from feedback from customers and then responding in a way. Now, the other kind of marketing that you see, and this is Elder Scrolls, is that if you are doing things that are not in the customer's best interest, and that if you were to tell customers everything that you were doing, particularly with monetization, they wouldn't like it and they would feel cheated. I think this is the case with the loot boxes in ESO, and there are many other things, but the bugs in the game, they're not going to fix them. They're not going to fix them because it's not worth the development time. If they fix those bugs, what do they get out of it? Almost nothing. Sure, a lot of people are going to be very happy, but unless those bugs are causing you to quit the game, which it does eventually, unless those bugs are causing you to quit the game, and even then, like a lot of them, they won't cause you to quit the game. You'll just rage about them whenever you're in that content where there's a bug. they're never going to fix those things because there's no financial incentive to. So a company like Arrowhead, which makes Helldivers 1 and 2, they want to make, they're a smaller game studio, not really indie anymore, but they're a smaller game studio, and they are interested in making really good games because they're all gamers. And what I mean is the people that in charge of the finances and in charge of the company are gamers. They're not the finance people. The finance people, I'm sure, are there, but the people in charge are the gamers. Whereas Elder Scrolls Online, the people in charge are the finance people, right? That if it doesn't make money, so they're never going to fix those bugs. They can't tell us that. Because if they told us that, some amount of people would quit the game and they would lose money. And the number one rule, especially with a publicly traded company, the golden rule is thou shalt not lose money. And so with their marketing, the same thing with PvP, right? Every time someone mentions something in a PvP about PvP while they're doing a live stream, they ban people. If you mention it in the forums, they'll mute you, they'll ban you, whatever. And they're trying to control the narrative because they can't address those issues because they don't have a good answer. So they have to try to manipulate them, and control the narrative around those things. And so typically companies fall into one of those two categories where they're either upfront and honest and tell you about it and they're transparent, or they're not and they're always trying to control the narrative and manipulate things and what have you. And I know that might sound like tinfoil hat, but that's literally what happens. I mean, the people go to school and get paid a lot of money if they do that sort of thing well. Sorry, let me catch up on chat here. Oh, there's not too much. Okay. I found it hard to get into trials in your guild. Goose, I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe we can chat about it later. I'm sure other people have had that issue as well. For anybody who doesn't know, how we do things in the guild is different than, as far as I know, any other guild out there. So we only are very top tier if you're trying to do trifectas, and honestly, we don't even use the tag because we don't have that many people trying to run really sweaty things in our guild, but all of our roles are self-assigned. And we have guidelines. They're probably overly complicated, but we have guidelines and they're all self-assigned. So you come in, you don't need to show us, you don't need to give us blood and urine. You don't need to show all your clears and what have you. Yes, we require you to have certain clears and certain things, but it's all self-assigned, and you could look at it and go, okay, I'm this. And even then, we try to make the requirements absolutely as low as possible so that anybody can get in. So, and Goose, if you want to tell me, drop in chat. I can't really address it too much here, but I'd be curious to know what exactly issues you had. That would be helpful. And we're not perfect, so I'm sure we've done things wrong. But anyways, that's kind of how this marketing and stuff and goes. That's just what they do and how you have to understand how they're going to communicate. ESO, ZOS is never going to fix a lot of the issues that they have, and so they're never really going to address those things. They're just trying to control the narrative. Okay, where were we? Now looking forward to, no, we already read most of this. I'm sorry, I must have scrolled up a bit. Yeah, so at the end of last year, yeah, so they're saying they're shaking things up, they're changing things new, turning the page on chapters. Okay, we have been incredibly successful with our strong annual chapter releases, starting with Morrowind in 2017 up through Gold Road just 6 months ago. Zone design and quest content is at the core of every Elder Scrolls games, as our annual chapter release model highlighted. We will still do lots of story content, but now looking at a 2025, we need to concentrate on different types of content to support all types of ESO players. So again, this is like so vague that we can all think that they mean us. And that's their goal here. So, all types of ESO players, right? So that you're supposed to read so that that our content can support you. That's what they want you to read here. They're not really telling us anything, but they want you to know that they are thinking of you, even if they're not. And they're probably not. Like, everything is not going to, work out well for you. Certainly in-game players were such a small part of the community that it's in some ways a wonder that they still do what they do, even though there are issues with it. There's a reason. I think the reason that the in-game community in ESO is so small is because of ZeniMax. It's because of them. They're responsible, right? The call is coming from inside the house. As 20 make sure you guys can still read all this. Yeah. Oh, no, we can't because of chat. As 25 will be a transition year for new content. We're going to have a new zone-based content launch in 2025, but you'll have to wait until April to hear the specifics about how it is different. Stay tuned. Okay, cool. Yeah, so they're putting chapters aside, and we'll be focusing on new types of content and a new release philosophy. More on that below. So we don't know what that means. They're just saying that they're doing something different. We can try to, read the tea leaves, but we don't actually know. I'm an RN, blood and urine is required. Oh, gosh. Introducing seasons. Over the course of 2025, we'll be moving more towards a seasonal content model and away from launching massive content updates once a year, as we did with chapters. We will be talking much more about this in the future, but in 2025, expect to see named seasons of 3 or 6 months duration with a mix of themed story content, events, store items, dungeons, and more. Yeah, so this is again more of the stuff where like we don't know what this means. I have a feeling, and I know that Nani also feels the same way, that we might not get a trial or any more trials moving forward. And I would not be surprised by that just because of the way numbers work. They're just looking for money. That's the only thing that they're looking for. And so, there is a benefit to having in-game players in your MMO. It's actually really important. A lot of people get into MMOs because of the in-game, and there are also people who never get into in-game who are still interested in that kind of and seeing that kind of content. It's kind of like having like a almost with the sweatiest people. It's almost like having a professional league of something. It adds some credibility, and it's like, oh, really cool. Like we all might go and play, pick up football or soccer or something, but we might even be more into watching it, right? So as for soccer, for football as a whole, all of those things are good for that. In this case, Elder Scrolls Online is soccer or football. It is that thing, and so anything with that helps promote it. And having a higher tier where you have people that are there's no professional tier, but they play as much and they do things that are crazy that most players can't do, still draws people in and makes people interested in it. So yeah, I don't think these seasons and what they're doing with this. I imagine a lot of this feels to me like they are moving development. Like we already know that they're developing another MMO. And they have other things they're developing, and I just wonder. Developers get tired of working on the same thing over and over again, and then the 10th year anniversary, they kind of fulfilled on what they wanted to do. I just wonder if there's people that want to work on other projects, and they're downsizing the team and moving people to other places. But we don't know for sure. I don't think we know. Yeah, Nani says, I'm really bummed. I hope I'm wrong. Yeah. For me, when I read we are switching to seasons, I hear they're going to give you less and charge more. Yeah, I mean that's probably what they want to do for sure. Definitely. I mean that's yeah. So 2025 will be a mix of old and new as we move the dev team towards creating smaller bite-sized pieces of content. We will still have some larger items that we've been working for over a year, which you'll see launch as well. The other thing here too, I just want to point out that some of this maybe some people might call it negativity. I would definitely say a lot of us see the cup as half empty, not half full. And the reason for that is because of the ways we've been treated. I mean, people have already talked about in chat how the developers' communication is really poor, and there's games in development that have much better communication and what have you. And a lot of the community feels like we're not listened to. And the reason we feel that we're not listened to is because we're not listened to. And so Zoss has long said, and I've mentioned this in years past, they're going to do whatever they want to do. Whenever they added Tales of Tribute into ESO, I enjoy Tales of Tribute. I play a lot. When I play, I haven't been playing in a long time, but when I played a lot, I'm like top tier, like ranked. I can get down there, and I enjoy it. Okay. Now I don't compete to try to get first place, and I'm not as good. I think was it maybe J. Hart Ellis or something I was first a long time ago for like many seasons, and I've never won a game against him. Okay, but that I can think of, or maybe I've won one or something, right? But I'm not like the best, right? But I'm really good. I enjoy the game. The only reason, I tell you that just as a preface, the only reason that they put that in the game, they said this, right? Rich Lambert said this, is because the developers didn't, they wanted to do something else. And that was kind of a reward for them and also allowing them to do whatever they want, to make whatever they want. So we got this game that we didn't ask for, a game inside of a game that, again, I just told you, I played a ton of and I really enjoy. My wife jokes that I have had a Tales of Tribute problem, right? Like I had a gambling problem. I really enjoyed it, but they only put that in there. We didn't ask for it. We didn't want it. They only did it for the developers because they wanted to do it. No other reason. Your feedback didn't matter. My feedback didn't matter. What the community wanted didn't matter. They did what they wanted to do. They've shown us that that's what they're going to do, and that's what they'll continue to do moving forward. Now, you might like that. You might not like what they do, but it doesn't really matter. Your opinion and your feelings just don't matter. It's not being factored into the equation. I think a couple people have something to say here. Chicken says they probably are going to focus more into Infinite Archive, toss a few bosses in there, and there will be some mechanics. And then Dave says, to be honest, it's extremely disrespectful to not be upfront about content releases and trying to keep people subbed by hiding whether or not they're making more trial content. Same for PvP and other niches. Yeah, Daedric. Daedric says he feels like this is really disrespectful. Disrespectful, sure. I don't know. Insulting. Manipulative. It's something. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's certainly not a company acting with. When you see this, you don't feel like ZeniMax Online Studios has your best interest in mind, right? When I was in the military, we had an expression that we'd use. It was mind over matter. They don't mind, and you don't matter. And we would use this when they were telling us, go do this thing, and it's going to be a pain, but your feelings and how it's going to affect you is not at all factored into the equation. They're going to do what they're going to do. Now, I will say that, for a lot of us, like, I'm not quitting ESO. What would I go play? But one day there will be something else and it will be better. And if I have this is, it has to be better than ESO, right? And that might be a lot of things. Some of it might be how the developers treat us. And if there's a company out there that like is just as good as ESO, but the developers treat the community better, I'm moving over. I can tell you for a fact that Elder Scrolls Online is going to be the last game I play from Bethesda, unless they just do a 180. It's just going to be the last game because the company is not getting better over time. They're going to have to crash and burn and then reinvent themselves. And so, in 5 years and probably longer, honestly, like in a decade or something, maybe I'll come back. But for right now, I'm going to keep playing ESO. I'm going to keep enjoying it. I understand where it's at and what's going on, and I kind of see the trajectory, and I'm going to keep playing it as long as it's fun for me. And I imagine many of you are going to do the same. But this kind of stuff is, Daedric, he says it feels extremely disrespectful. I feel like it's maybe manipulative. I feel like it's, marketing and what have you. Maybe I'm a bit jaded and like just expect it, but yeah, it's not good. It certainly doesn't leave you with a warm and fuzzy feeling inside. That's for sure. Whittemere says, I'm a Marine who also got the mind over matter speeches. That's awesome. Nani was in the chair force, and I know there's many other of us vets in here as well. Cool. So wait, did we get all this? Yeah. So freeing up the dev team, it's a little hard to keep track of where we're at on this page. Freeing up the dev team from needing to adhere to strict annual cycles means that we'll be able to have teams launch content when it's ready throughout the year and not work to a date in June. This will let us focus on a greater variety of content spread over the year. This supports the new seasons model. This will enable us to release content, update fixes, and system in a more efficient manner. Yeah, they have said a couple of things, and I don't want to make too huge of a point of this. Freeing up the devs from needing to adhere to strict annual cycles, like these are self-imposed, so it's like, oh, we're making these changes, to free ourselves up. it's but without really admitting that what they were doing wasn't working or wasn't good, and then also saying that like flexible deadlines, again, as someone mentioned, we're probably going to get less and we're probably going to get charged the same if not more for it. And I think that's kind of what this is saying. At the same time, I just want to say that there is a cup half full, here where they could, I think that most of the developers working on games they want to make fun games. They want to make fun things. And so I think that they're, the people actually making the game are going to continue to do the best they can to make really good and interesting content, and we might be pleasantly surprised by a lot of this. Again, most of us have been a bit, hurt by the company, and we haven't had our, anything. They never listened to us, and so there's a lot of skepticism around this. But that's where it comes from, guys. It's not because we want to be negative. We want to keep playing games, and we want ESO to, be the best game it can be. But that's where some of that kind of negativity comes from. Oh, that's awesome, Whatamir. That's cool. I appreciate you doing that. A new focus on change and experimentation. We have been hearing from you, the community, that we need to experiment more. This is just, again, this is kind of like BS because they don't listen to us. They're doing this because they want to. They want to try some things out, and it just feels like gaslighting. Anyways, to shake things up and not be so predictable, the game needs needs new and different types of content. Um, okay, for a long-standing and for long-standing feedback to be addressed. I will eat my shirt if they actually address much of the long-standing feedback. I will do it on stream. I will chop the shirt. Not the shirt I wear. I like this shirt. There is no way, there is no way that they're actually going to address. If they do, I will do. I will do a glow up video of ESO just talking about how it's the best thing in the world, probably in a somewhat joking manner if they actually address a lot of the long-standing feedback. It's not profitable for them to do most of it, and so I don't think there's any chance that they actually do it. I feel like this is marketing and they're trying to tell us what we want to hear so that even though they're going to be not releasing as much content moving forward, we think yeah, I shouldn't say that. I'll say that, but this is pure speculation because I think this is a way of marketing that they're going to be releasing less content and they're trying to market that as like a positive or something. Or maybe they'll finally listen to us, but it's the kind of thing that's like, why didn't you listen to us, for the past, 5 years or whatever, and now you're going to listen to us now? It's like when you're in a relationship with someone and they're like, I'll change, and they've never changed, and then they tell you one more time after years that they're going to change. They're not going to change. It's unless the management at ESO changes, the people in charge, none of this, I think, there's very little chance that it's actually going to change. Um, Nani says, for me, it isn't about them not listening as much as they are just hostile to the community. Okay. Nani, is there anything in particular that helps you, that like makes you feel that way? So those who don't understand where you're coming from, I understand where you're coming from, but you could point to that would help you feel that way, or you help explain to people like why you feel that way. And then Mike here says, when the content is ready, when the content is ready, Zos doesn't appreciate the Duke Nukem Forever was a cautionary tale and not a release scheduled to aspire to. Daedric says long-standing feedback. Fix one bug that's been there for 9 years. Yeah. Wait a minute. I don't mindless content. I'm not sure. I think this might be a little bit of a. Oh, okay, yeah. I don't mind less content changing metas every 4 months is super tiring. Yeah, the to Wedemir's point here about content, the meta changing every 4 months. So what happened is I think a lot of it was from the community, the content creators in ESO saying that I can't do build videos if they're going to be obsolete in 3 months because it takes a lot of time. It's hard. It is very difficult to make really good videos on ESO because even if everything, like things just don't work the way they're supposed to. And there's plenty of like hidden mechanics and we've discovered, I don't even know if most of the people, maybe anybody over at ZOS knows how a lot of the combat actually works. Like I feel like somebody left or quit and they're just trying to rediscover how it's going on. And if so, maybe one person does. And anyways, there would be so many, it's so hard to make content. And Zoss is constantly changing things. A lot of times for no apparent, they do things that show that they don't even understand their own game. And so they're making these changes that are just objectively making the game worse. And it makes it impossible, or not impossible, makes it very difficult, impossible to make a profitable, YouTube career off of covering videos, because no one, I saw in the Discord a couple of weeks ago where someone was like, "Hey, all the build videos I see are a couple of weeks old." Maybe they meant months, but like they literally were like, those must be bad, because if you made a video, it was obsolete. So Zaw said, "Hey, we're going to change that, and we're only going to do updates to the game mechanics and to combat once a year." That lasted a year. They did it for a year, which was awesome. It was amazing. Videos were lasting longer. And I care about that, not just as someone who makes content for YouTube, but as someone who wants to make useful and helpful videos for new players. I want to be able to make a video, and it's not worth my time if they're just going to change something in a couple of weeks. And so it was really nice. It's like, okay, well, cool. I can spend time on these videos and I can recommend older videos to people. And that is still somewhat, it's better than it was, but they've already started making smaller changes quarterly. And it's just like, stop. You got to stop doing that. You gotta stop. Um, uh, Wampus says that one time, oh gosh, Zoss wanted to remove the light attack weaving advantage. Yeah. Wedemir devs get hostile as they really know the game, uh, well, and they are thin-skinned and insecure. Um, yeah, I mean, definitely thin-skinned. Don't know the game well. Yeah, okay. Yeah, they don't know the game well, and they're thin-skinned and insecure. I think that's honestly what has happened is that developers. I'm kind of talking a bunch, guys. I don't know if this is entertaining at all. Someone tell me to keep going on, or to get back on topic here. But what has happened is that developers, we're all a bunch of nerds, right? And especially, I used to have my dad was a computer programmer, and he, the stereotypical nerd, sitting in front of a computer, doesn't talk to anybody all day, not incredible, communication skills, but man, the dude can code, right? That used to be my idea what a programmer does. Now, what game developers actually do is that's like back end stuff. Most of them aren't actually coding, but that idea is still similar. These are people that want to make games. They never expected to be public figures. And a public figure in the U.S. is actually a legal term, but it's an idea. It's you have different rules that govern you, right? People can say mean things about you on the internet, and if you're a public figure, that there's nothing you can do, right? And so developers didn't expect to be public figures, and then now the way gaming is, they are. Not all of them, and a lot of them choose. I'm sorry, I should be very clear. A lot of them choose not to be, and they don't have a public social media presence. You don't know who they are. You can't find them on Twitter, whatever. And then some of them like dip their toes without really understanding what the process was, or as you get so high in a public company, not I'm sorry, in a company, not necessarily publicly traded for sure, but even not, you do become a public figure, whether legally or not. You are someone that people know about, and so they didn't expect to get feedback. And when they make a bad decision, they don't expect someone to be like, "Oh, this person's a friggin' idiot." And so someone like myself who does YouTube, someone says something mean about me on the internet, or it's like, Nightharrow's an idiot, his videos suck. I'm like, okay, I mean, I appreciate it. Do you want to tell me why you think they suck so that I can get, maybe there's some useful feedback there? But my feelings aren't hurt. And I went into this knowing that. A lot of older developers didn't realize that's what they were getting into. And a lot of newer developers understand that. And also they're more social media literate, and they've lived their lives on the internet, since they were a kid. And so they kind of understand how this works, whereas older ones don't really, I don't think, understand that. And I'm not saying it's all generational, but there's still this idea where like, okay, I don't want to be public and what have you. And then all of a sudden they're being thrust. And so this is not saying that this is anybody's fault. I'm just explaining the situation. And so this is what happens. And then it's like, oh, I'm being attacked, on the internet or on Twitter or something because of something that I said or did or what have you. And they're not emotionally prepared for that to happen, and they kind of feel like, oh, it shouldn't happen, which is like, I mean, sure, that's like wishing that gravity weren't what it is. Like it just is. There's nothing really you can do about it. Let me catch up on a few of these comments. Nani says, keep going. I appreciate that, that Naughty. Never forget update 3035. I might have skipped some of these guys, so I'm sorry if I miss anything. I have a few sets that are useless now. I mean, yeah, that's true. I asked people to give feedback, and I'm sorry, I was asked to give feedback, and when I did, I was not treated with any respect or even kindness. I wrote a very thoughtful and insightful letter explaining how the community felt. Okay, so this is Nani saying this, that she was asked specifically for feedback and that she gave it. I have also had experiences where I was in a Discord where there was a place where we were asked for feedback or asked for some, and I've talked about this a decent amount, and 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 it was about bugs and what have you, and my first question was like, well, if you want us to tell you about bugs, like, let's see your list, right? Because you've got a list, right? You do, right? You do. Okay, you do. Oh, yeah. And they just killed the channel. They just killed it. They just killed all the feedback because we were like, hey, it feels disrespectful to me to ask me for something that you already have, hopefully a list of, because you should. And if you don't, oh my God, that's an even bigger problem. And so again, it's not really dealing openly and honestly, because if they would have said, hey, I know this sounds messed up, but we don't have a list. I know it's messed up. I know it's messed up. We should have a list, but maybe we had one. That person left. It was a mental list. They're gone now, but we don't have a list. So if you could help us out, if they would have said that, there was people in that Discord that would have and that channel that would have helped. They would have given them the most beautiful. They would have done hours and hours of free labor for them to give them a list if they would have said that, or any number of other things. But they didn't. They don't want to address us openly, honestly, like you, with respect, as you would communicate to another person. And then they wonder why people get mad and angry and don't treat them with respect. And it's like, well, it's a two-way street, and you really got to start somewhere. And you also have to realize that when you do that, if you're the public figure that's doing that, you're going to get people that are not going to be happy with no matter what. And you've got to have the thick enough skin that that's not going to hurt your feelings and you're going to be fine with it. And if you don't have that, then you're probably not in the right job. Templar jabs animation changed. No one asked for. Yeah, that's fair. Templar had a lot of issues. Like for a long time, the Templar jabs was like an omni skill as well. It was a direct damage over. It was all the kinds of damage. Joel says, "Keep going. You're making my workday tolerable." All right, I'm glad I can help you out, Joel. It's good to see you. Overland content giving no sense of accomplishment. I've saved Tamriel many times over. Oh God, Chad, you're on point. Sorry, I've saved Tamriel many times over, but the content is so easy. It's underwhelming and distracting. Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you're new to ESO, just so you guys know, if you're a new player, Overland is hard. It is hard when you're new and you're low level. Once you get to max level and you kind of know what's going on, it's just like trivially easy. And you know, you guys should know, but you can just, if you go in and you're someone who's kind of sweaty, you can just nuke everything like seconds. And they health gate things so that it has to take so long. So then it's like you did 50% of damage, but now you got to wait for the boss to do its thing, and whatever's going on. It just feels like a waste of time. Chad also says the Azerblight changes was ridiculous. Yeah, Azerblight, the many changes have kind of pissed me off and other people, because it's, they change things for PvP, and it's like, can't we just make different rules for PvP? Like, what? Like, it works great in PvE, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Grey Host seems to be the only PvP campaign alive, and it's still a lag fest. Killing Azerblight killed Blackreach. Okay. Daedric says, last time I gave Kite Arrow feedback, I got taken to the shed. Oh, man. All right. Kite Arrow is my alter ego, guys. A lot of people see Nightharrow and they see Night Arrow. And then I think someone called me Kite Arrow at one point. And so now Kite Arrow is just like the meme, my meme name. And I don't blame people for saying like Nightharrow, because that's a much more, arrow is in the English language a much more common word than harrow, which is a very old school word to use. But I don't blame people. It's just I'm not mad at anybody. It's just a funny thing that we meme about. It doesn't really mean anything. It's just kind of a meme. All right, freeing. Do we read this? um, yeah, it's going to free the dev team to support new seasonal models, which they're going to have to spend time to think about things to temporarily introduce introduce them in a way that, I mean, that's going to be a buggy mess, right? Like we all know that it's not going to, the launch is not going to go well. I mean, they couldn't even do the like last year's launch, right? Like PTS, where all of our accounts got overwritten. Like we just have no. There's a lot of spaghetti code in ESO, and I don't think many of us have confidence that this is going to work out well. Excuse me as I take a sip. The new focus on change and experimentation. The, okay. We have been hearing from you, the community, that we need to experiment more, to shake things up and not be so predictable. Okay. I'm just going to leave it. We'll just keep going. The game needs new and different types of content and for long-standing feedback to be addressed. We have, so they talked earlier about, I've seen something where, is this Matt? Yeah, where Matt had talked about like, oh yeah, we have like, we have content schedule out really far, and that was kind of like a thing they were bragging about. And to me, all that means is that like they're slow, and they're really slow. They're like a giant ship, and it's really hard to turn that thing at all. And it's like weird that they were bragging about it, and yeah, they do need long-standing feedback to be addressed, and it would be cool if they actually do this. We have already started on some ideas that will be tested in 2025. These systems and ideas will be clearly marked as experiments in patch notes, and are ideas that may or may not be fleshed out into full game systems. With our new focus on breaking up content into seasons and away from years, it gives us time to do these experiments and changes. Yeah, the other thing that they do, and I see this with other companies, ESO makes money, and I imagine it makes a good amount of money, and they they never want to scale up. Scaling up at games company, scaling up with anything is hard. Games companies will tell you that it's exceptionally hard for them. Probably most industries, if they will tell you how exceptionally hard it is for them. But the real answer is that like there are people that are not capable of scaling it up and not capable of adding. If they had, and this would have been years ago, but if they would have added even more content, I think ESO could have gotten even bigger. And they're looking back and going, oh no, we did the best we could and everything we did was great. Well, it's like most of us who are played the game were like, no, they should have done more, and they should have acted on this feedback years ago. They've already lost a bunch of players. Those people aren't coming back. I mean, we've seen YouTube videos of creators who have quit the game, and they take a lot of people with them, and other people that have nothing to do with those creators also leave the game because this stuff is taking so long. So it's kind of weird that's like talking out of a little bit out of both sides of their mouth, where it's like, oh, look how great we are because we have this really long content schedule planned out, but at the same time, like, that's the problem. You're not quick to react, and they can't scale up the team so that they do more because that's difficult and challenging, and it would lead to other problems. And typically, what I've heard from I shouldn't say typically, what I've heard from some developers, not at ESO, not at ZeniMax Online, is like, yeah, the idea of giving me more people to help me is like, I'm just going to have to train them, which means that I'm going to actually lose productivity in the short term. And, that's a problem. So I'd rather, and oftentimes these are people that maybe they're technical people and they don't want to manage others and they just want to do their thing. I've even heard of games companies where someone who's like they were given a role and they're the user interface person. If it has to do with user interface, it's that person. And that person is very happy to be the one go-to, and they're doing everything. But that means that there's a bunch of requirements and everything on them, but they just don't want to work with others. Some of us are nerds that aren't good at working with others. And hey, if they do a good job, they'll let them do that. This is why it's difficult to scale up. And, You just need someone who's capable of doing that and of helping them scale up so that they could. And I think this time has passed for ESO. I don't think that they're scaling up anymore, but there was a time where that could have happened. So what they're saying is that we have a finite amount of resources, which is always true to some extent, but they're saying it's not about like they could get more resources if they could say we could improve the game and get more people to play, but it's a lot easier to just not do that. That's risky. No one loses their job by not taking any risk, right? But if you take a risk and you fail, you could lose your job. And so people are incentivized to just not change anything up. Chad says the devs have put players into a believe it when I see it space. Actions have consequences. Isn't the PTS already available for experimental stuff? I actually don't know, Chad. I haven't. In theory, I should be looking, but I kind of give up because they're going to do what they're going to do, and it doesn't matter if we go on there and give them feedback. In my experience, so why am I working for them for free? So I've kind of stopped. I do what I need to, but that's about it. But yeah, they have put us into a believe it when we see it kind of space. Here are some of the ideas we're working on, some of which you may see on the live servers as tests in 2025 and beyond. Some of these will be tests, and some will be improvements based on player feedback. We need to seriously address Cyrodiil performance. Our ambitious goal is to return to the concurrency levels we supported in 2014. So we'll be experimenting with a Cyrodiil campaign where all classes will have PvP specific and more performance skills that replace the standard player skills with the expectation that we can support more players per campaign. I don't. Yeah, I if this happens, like I said before, I will. I don't know. What's a good idea? Shave my head on stream? I don't know. No, let's not do that. That sounds dumb. Yeah, this is not gonna. I don't believe that this is gonna work out. I don't. Tadric says, "I love the goalpost for performance being what we did 10 years ago with worse hardware." Oh yeah, that's a great point, Daedric. Justin says they earn a lot of cash flow. They just don't allocate those to improve the servers, redo the whole backbone. I assume the stakeholders. Yeah, I would agree, Mist. Yeah, Mist's point is that they make money. They're just not reinvesting it into the game because that's safe. Yeah, the goalpost being that we're gonna get back to 2014. What was going on in 2014? Can we can we Google can we just if you just Google 2014, can we find out what was going on in 2014? 2014 is there any, I don't know. What have we got here? 2014 was definitely pre-COVID, right? This was forever ago. Here's all the stuff that happened in 2014. Oh man, it was a different time, guys. It was a different time. All right. Oh man. Brazil beaten 7-1 by Germany in the semifinals. I do remember this. Anybody else remember that? Oh man, that was 2014. That feels like a lifetime ago. All right. Oh man. Hearthstone was 2014, I think. Game was new and PvP focused in 2014. That honestly reads like a total dumpster fire for Cyrodiil. Oh man, yeah. So what they're saying here is that it sounds like, and I think I'm correct on this. So they're going to replace standard player skills with ones that are easier. So what they're saying is that the skills that we use now are harder on performance. And so they're hoping to get simpler skills that are easier on performance. Every time they've tried doing something like this, to improve performance by making it where dots and heals over times tick half as often as they used to, so that the server has to do less calculations, it never works out. Have we ever, PvP players, those who PvP more than me, have we ever noticed the difference? It has messed up PvE, but I don't know that it's ever really made any meaningful or noticeable difference in PvP. So I can't imagine it will. I think the problem with ESO and Cyrodiil is that what they really needed to do was remake the game with a new and more modern um, software and backbone, and that is the only thing that I think will actually ever solve Cyrodiil performance. And I don't think that they have the appetite for that. I think that we've gotten news, right? We've gotten some leaks that they were, they're working on a space MMO next, maybe in the Starfield universe. I don't know if that's still the case after Starfield is how that has not gone particularly well, but that's I think what needs to happen. Maybe they can simplify this. Maybe they, what they probably did? They probably saw WoW, what WoW did, and they were like, "Oh, that was really successful. Maybe we'll try to copy them where you can like you have unique skills that so that your player level and everything else doesn't matter as much." Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this. I don't imagine it's going to work. Anyways, increasing the difficulty of standard overworld combat. I mean, yeah, that would be great. I don't think they're going to do this in a way that is satisfying. I would love this. This would be this is my Cyrodiil performance, and we've been asking this for forever. It's been a huge problem for a long time, and I'll believe it when I see it. I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I don't think it's going to happen. Um, yeah, that statement is so stupid. Double the sticky dot and hot for 1 second per tick to 2 seconds, and then release Arcanist that has a beam that ticks every 0.33, and it ticks every third of a second. Like what? Yeah, 100% what Miss said. That's absolutely what they did, and it was just like 2 steps forward or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It was just like this makes no sense, and yeah. So a lot of the stuff there's like a lot of cognitive dissonance. You can't really justify all these things together. Yeah, I noticed the year-long block bug that eventually you just couldn't block. Yeah, yeah, and it still happens. The block bug still happens after several fixes. It just didn't work. Yeah, um, I I think that yeah, and it's also funny. Like they'll have a bug that's like game breaking, like block not working properly, and it'll take them forever. How long did it take them? Like a I don't know. It took them over like a patch, I think, or it took them weeks and weeks to fix something. But if there's something that's actually fun for the players and is like memey, they'll fix it in literally 24 hours. Whenever the DK, your standard, you could drop multiple, and the standard buff just kept stacking, which is a percentage damage buff, and you could just keep stacking them so that you could just you were like almost one-shotting bosses on hard modes in trials because if everybody ran a DK, it was fun. It was funny. I never really got to do very much with it, but that would have been cool. But they fixed that in like 24 hours. But then the things that are really detrimental to the player experience, they just leave in for, they get to it eventually. Improving the overall feel of combat with animation, FX, and potentially audio work. I mean, this would be cool. They could do some really good things with that. That could actually be very nice. Experimenting with more zones like Craglorn, although not as large in area or scope, created exclusively for high-end group and soft group content with associated gear chase. This is really interesting. So I think this is where any trials. This makes me think that we probably won't get a trial, but experimenting with more zones like Craglorn. I thought we weren't adding more zones, but okay. So I'm a little bit confused there, although not as large in area and scope. Okay, so smaller zones of some sort, created exclusively for high-end group and soft group content with associated gear chase. I mean, this would be cool. The soft group content. I unfortunately for most of us who like trials, I don't think this is going to be. I don't think it's going to be for us. And the reason I say this because when they say soft group, I assume they mean like various numbers, and the way they've done scaling when there's various people. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but in Overworld, if there's a lot of people at a particular geyser or something else like that, it's probably hard to notice now because DPS is so high and Overland is so easy. But when more people come, the boss gains more health and stuff like that. And what'll happen is you have someone who comes and they're doing 1/10 of your damage, and so the more people that are there, it's actually harder for those who are more skilled, and it's harder for everybody, and it's disproportionately harder because before that person was getting carried by someone who actually did decent DPS, or it was taking them 20 minutes to kill it, and then more people come because the percentage of people that have really high DPS because the game doesn't really help you learn how to do a good job DPSing is very small, and so I don't trust that they've done some very simple implementations of this kind of thing before, and I thought it was comically simple, and I just don't know if I have a lot of confidence that they can do this, and also like high end, like I don't know what they mean here. Um, I mean, it could be great. I hope I'm wrong. I just again I don't have a whole lot of confidence, but I think this is where any efforts towards trials is going to be spent. I would think that from their perspective, they want to get more. So they have a bunch of content that they've made. They've had a bunch of trials and everything that they've made. Word salad, yeah. So they have a bunch of content they made, trials specifically, that almost nobody, hard mode, almost nobody does. So they've made a bunch of content that most people don't even engage with. That's why they have to make sure that they don't put any story content locked in trials, because a lot of people will just never do a trial because they want to play the game solo and what have you. And so, group content in ESO is the redheaded stepchild. And so I think that maybe they're trying to get more people into that kind of content. Maybe it's a good idea, is I guess what I'm coming down to, and it could be very interesting and be very fun. I actually think that some of the Craglorn content when I played when it first came out was really cool and it was really challenging, and you actually like got some people together. The problem is if you have a group of 2 people versus a group of 4 people, you're doubling your DPS. And it's hard to design things when one person might be doing twice the DPS of another. And if you don't believe me, look at the Infinite Archive. I don't run the Infinite Archive because I don't want to waste 40 minutes until I get to the thing that's actually challenging for me. I don't want to waste 40 minutes of my time every time I want to step in there to get to the part that's actually fun for me. And that's not true for everybody, but that's what they've done when they tried a one size fits all model, and I don't like what they've done. And it's the same people at the company, so I don't think, unless they got some new idea, maybe they do. I hope they do. I just don't have a lot of confidence that they're going to be able to, do anything great. I might have to stop reading this, guys. I just feel like a negative Nancy on all of this, and I'm not. I don't want to be. I'm not trying to be. So we'll try to keep going, but I don't want to be negative about all this stuff. It doesn't feel good. I don't want that kind of negativity in my life. Book Magic says DPS is highly affected by ping in the game. Many are locked out of weaving if they're in the 75 to 130 ping spot. So all Southeast Asia, US locked out. Yeah, Book, I don't, I'm not there, so I don't know what it's actually like. I know that there are some people that kind of figure it out a bit and are able to still, do. And the other thing is you can do pretty good damage. You can't do top tier damage though without light weaving at all. So that's fair. Southeast used to have under 60 ping and weaving was possible back in 2014 until the one Tamriel update. Then ping went up, and many updates after ping went up more. I did not know that, Book. I appreciate that info. That's really interesting that it was, well, they're trying to bring back 2014. Adding and refining tools to make guild recruitment, interaction, and management easier and more logical. Okay, so this is a very typical ESO thing. I might need a little encouragement to keep going on this, guys, because again, I don't want to be negative, and it's just hard to say. I have bad news on this. So you guys might need to tell me if I should keep going, okay? But adding and refining tools to make, so we have the new system for finding groups, the new group finder, does not work right and has never worked right. And I don't even know if they know that it doesn't work right. Whenever you put in a trial, or whenever I put in a trial, oftentimes normal and vet, like if you select the normal or vet button, doesn't really matter. It shows up, period. You have to put in that in the description what it is, and if it's vet or normal, or otherwise those buttons don't mean anything. And so the group finder doesn't work right, has never worked right. And why do we think that some guild recruitment, interaction, and management system is going to work right? The implementation of the group finder, so it is very basic. It's basically a copy and paste of other systems that they have that are then modified, like looking for group. if that doesn't work right, what are the chances that this is going to work right? I mean, basically zero, right? Like, why would we have any faith that it's going to work correctly? Um, hold on. We got some comments. This is going to be a little bit past where everybody can see. No, I'm sorry. The ping doesn't affect weaving. Clyde plays at 240 plus ping, and he parsed all the high end DPS players. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna. I've heard the same thing, but I don't know, so I don't want to. So what am I gonna say? Um, let's definitely not get into a huge argument about it in the comments. Hopefully we haven't, but yeah, I definitely know book magic that some people would say it's not a big deal. I mean, certainly it affects you. Period. I would definitely say that. Can you overcome that? I think sure the answer is yes, but it could be also the case that Clive is um, just that much better. I don't know. Either way, it kind of sucks that it was good in 2014 and it's not good now. Pointing out reality isn't being negative; it's just admitting reality. Yeah, Mike. But I would rather talk about happier things. I appreciate that though. He outparsed his world record score push group and the people playing on low ping. Okay, let the game die. They did this to themselves. Move on. Yeah. I am into dungeons and trials, casual and sometimes sweaty. This is chicken. Group Finder has helped, but people have gotten so used to trying to skip mechanics that some toxic stuff comes out. Yeah, that toxic stuff coming out is because again, it's like forcing people that don't want to play together to play together. That's what they tried doing with the Infinite Archive, and yeah. Rain says positive criticisms tends to sound negative, but isn't really. Is your shirt dark green? My shirt is gray. Oh, am I transparent, Spark? I'm sorry, man. Thanks, dude. Has it been this way the whole time? Is it kind of a? Let me see. It's actually gray, and I'm on a blue screen. Oh man, that's all we had to do. Oh wait, no, it's still kind of bad. It's just from the glare from the screen, man. But I appreciate you saying something, guys. Live streaming is hard, and I'm not very good at it. So feel free to always help me out if you see something wrong with the stream. I can probably change some stuff. Thanks, Spark, man. I appreciate that. Spark I love Spark is a great guy. Also makes some content, guys. I know. Do you do any? Do you do a little bit, right? He's done some great information for ESO over the time. If you don't know who he is, Daedric says, "Look, give us an instance editor, and I will make 3 trials a year. Let me cook." Man, 1000%. That would be so bomb. Oh my god, that would be amazing. Um, oh man. Apocryphal Soldier says, "Isn't the part of the problem the desire to avoid challenging or painful conversations? Talking is the first step." Yeah. I mean, 100%. Yeah, lag weaving is possible after 133 ping. So pings over 120 have lag weaving, where game remembers your button pushes. In the 75 to 130 ping, no button memory by game and no weaving. Oh, okay. Did you watch the Memphis video on how ESO management treated him? I don't know. Swag. Do we pronounce the G? Swag. I have it queued up, man. It's on the list. Although I've been going for a while here. So, what do we got? No, we got. Yeah, we got time. We can still do it. So it's on my list after this. Yeah. Have you been? I had been hoping my ping would go above the 117. It's been holding on the last a few years. When I get a lag spike, I can finally weave again. You need a VPN, maybe. Book. Have you tried that? You probably have. I'm sorry if I'm like offering the most basic explanation. Yeah, and Mel knows what Spark has done for the community. She gave him a heart. Swa, dude. Sway. Okay, just Sway. Okay, okay. I didn't see that you spelled it different. The G is silent. Okay, cool. Guys, I'm never trying to make fun of anybody's name. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm dyslexic. I don't know how to spell. I don't know how to pronounce. I may not be a smart man, Jenny, but I know what love is. Okay, dating myself there. Cool. So yeah, adding and refining tools to make guild recruitment. Yeah, this is that. Yeah, I mean, fix the ones you have. That would be cool. We have many more ideas here, and of course, we're listening to you and we'll be coming up with new ideas based on your feedback. Yeah, I mean, Sure. Concentrating on new and returning user experience. Yeah, I mean, it would be cool if we could get some of those returning players back, but it is long past time we addressed ESO's new and returning user experience. Oh, well, the first step is admitting you have a problem, as someone else pointed in chat. The game is so large at this point that we need to refine the new user experience. Our goal is to shield new players from being overwhelmed by dozens of content options presented them on entering the world, and instead give them the essential guidance they need to enjoy the game before opening up to all possibilities. Again, this is a good idea, and they're like talking about doing the right things. Whenever all of our accounts got overwritten, they gave us like another temporary account. I tried going back and playing to do like the new player experience, and it was bugged out. I couldn't go to whatever portal I wanted, even though they were unlocked. And again, it's the situation where like the stuff you have doesn't work. Are they going to make stuff that actually I just don't think they can make a game that's not broken, and that's a problem. They lack the expertise apparently to be able to do that. And so it's a great idea. It would be cool. There are also a lot of other things with like how the game actually works, and there's a lot of us that could give them really good feedback on how, because that's what I do. I'm trying to help new players, understand how the game is played and what have you. I spend a lot of time on that, and there's other people that are probably better at it and smarter at it than I am that could give them some really good feedback. And we know that the developers are generally out of touch on this kind of stuff and have no idea. So yeah, it's a great idea. I don't think it's probably going to go super well. Additionally, we have many millions of players who return to the game every year after taking months to years off, and it is often confusing to them what they should be doing. We need to address this by making sure that the game's map and other quest informational UI areas are clearly shown the users where they are when they left, what has been added since then, and where they will find content they will love. Sure. It's weird that they're telling us about this because we don't care. Like, I mean, who are they telling this to? But sure, I mean, it's cool. That's the thing that they should do for themselves. Sorry to up and down. Sway, I'm sorry about that, man. I'll try. Hopefully, I'm saying it correctly now. Here are just a few of the items planned to improve the new and returning user experience. Some of these will launch in 2025, some afterwards. They're already planning things for over a year out. This is a new patcher with improved visuals and performance. PC only. Okay. Returning to the original Whaling Prison tutorial area with all new players. This is already launched, and we'll be regularly tweaking it to improve the experience. Okay. I tried this recently, and it was relatively new that they had updated the new experience, and the I didn't have my controller wouldn't work. I live streamed it. I couldn't get the controller to work, and I was trying to play on a controller. I really wanted to play on a controller because I had a injury, and it was more comfortable for me to do it. And I couldn't even do that. And then the area didn't work correctly. So visuals improving base game zones with updated textures and art assets, starting with the starter islands. These should start rolling out in March 2025. I mean, making the game look better would be awesome. That would be great. So sure. They're also telling this to a bunch of us who have played the game who are looking at this, and we don't really care about this, and they still haven't addressed all of our issues with the game over the course of years and years. So it feels bad to hear like, oh, again, the core thing you need to understand is that these guys only care about money, right? And what I mean by that is even if the individual developers, it's not that they care about money, right? They're not going to see a dime. However, the way it works is that, ultimately the decisions are being made based on money. So it doesn't matter what the developer who just cares about making a great game thinks or feels, because ultimately things are only going to be made based on money. And your frustration that Yolnahkrin is always desynced, and so tanks die on that fight all the time because the visuals and when the damage goes out is desynced, and how hard that makes it for new players who are trying to tank. There being block bugs, a continual block bug. I know Spark will tell you that it's not a block bug, but I disagree, Spark. It happened to me the other day, actually, on accident. Just I wasn't trying to recreate it; it just happened. But that being making it harder for players to enjoy tanking. They did a live stream a while ago where they're like about tanking and about how it's okay. And it's like what you don't need to do a video telling people how tanking isn't scary. You need to fix the game so that tanking works correctly, and then it'll be fine. like, anyway, so hearing about this stuff where they're worried about it's just all about money, and it's good actually that it's in here so that I think more people can understand why decisions are made. It's all about money. It doesn't matter. You're already playing the game, right? Like, so, fuck you. That's kind of how they feel. Like, like you're already playing. We're already getting your money. Visuals improving the base. Yeah, okay, we saw that. Yeah. Now showing new players, prologue quest. Cool. I mean, we'll skip through this stuff. Sprucing up the games. Oh, okay. Games PC UI. Yeah, if you're on console, man, you're just second class citizens, which is long overdue for modern visual upgrade. I mean, that would actually be cool. One of the things is that all the add-ons that you need to play ESO. Now, I am someone in the in-game community that is memed on, sometimes incredibly hard. I don't like using add-ons. If you actually go back and look at some of my recent live streams, I don't even have QCell's Rockgrove helper on a hard mode Rockgrove. Don't tell Daedric. Daedric, don't listen to me. Why? Because I don't like add-ons that tell you mechanics. I don't want to be reading stuff on my screen. There are, however, certain add-ons things that the game I think should tell you or show you visually. I would rather see it in the game visually because I think that's a more immersive experience for me. If I could get all the information that I get from the UI just from visuals in the game, that would be my preferred style of play, and I would rather have no other UI on the screen. So if I could have some way of visually seeing that my character was low on health, maybe he's like slumped down, or something, like you can't really do that, but that would be my preferred style of play rather than having a health bar because that's more immersive for me. And so people meme on me about my not like, but so that's where the perspective I'm coming from. The add-ons that allow you like bag space, like that control your bags and everything else that will swap out gear for you, I think that those should be part of the base game and should have been a long time ago, because what happens is that there's these great community members that make these great add-ons that are really helpful. And I'm not saying those add-ons shouldn't exist, by the way. I'm just saying that I don't love them. I actually wish they exist for people on console so that people could use them, to help them get through content easier. And some of the stuff I think should be in the base game. But like things like the bag, console players like, oh yeah, I have to swap gear manually and, like moving stuff to and from bags. And they kind of like, lament that they don't have those on console. I think they should implement those into the game, but they don't do it because they don't have to. And because how is that going to make them money? If you can't draw a line to that making the money, they're just not going to do it. And it's really unfortunate because it's like you can see that the goal is not to make the best game possible and then make money because you've made the best game possible, which is a formula that many companies have followed and has worked out well. Larian, recently, right, with Baldur's Gate. There's plenty of others that are not perfect games, but they're really good. They just try to make a really fun game. Helldivers, I think, is one of those. So it's unfortunate that they don't kind of have those things, and that they also don't, make them available to players on console. We got a few comments here. Let me catch up here. The admission that going back to the Wailing Prison is an improvement. I agree, but that's funny. Yeah. What we did before was not good, so we're going back. They can't even adjust the length. Book Magic says they can't even adjust the length of time between the stables upgrades in the game, or just don't want to find the code and adjust the 20 hours to /24-hour wait time. Yeah, exactly. Sway says no problem, roll. It's a troll name. Just say swag or whatever. All right, I'll say sway. I'll try to say sway if that's it. Or if that's not it, then maybe I will just say swag. Man, I'm sorry. All right. Daedric says let's fix new player experience by reverting it to what it was. Yeah. Yep. Clearly shows some bad decision making along the way. Honestly, with the move to seasons, you can expect a different. This is Mike saying this. Honestly, with the move to seasons, you can expect a different monetization strategy with people less tempted to sign up to things like ESO Plus for long periods of time. Yeah, yeah, I would agree, Mike. And then Daedric says, I watch your POV. I know. Daedric, dude. Hey, man. Spark Rip says, isn't Sauce disabling third party add-ons, i.e. Elms? Oh, are they? I didn't catch that, man. I missed that. Book Magic says the stable's whole day for one upgrade is hard coded and unchangeable according to devs. What? Unless you buy a Crown Store upgrade, then voila, no wait time. Book, man, you're cracking me up. Mother Clocker, what's up? The wait time for stables upgrades is probably one of the worst features in the game. Yeah, okay. Getting people on board with the stables issues for sure. I don't even upgrade my stuff now. I just give up. I just don't even care, honestly. I mean, I don't run around Overland because I don't have a reason to. The fix there would seem easy to give a Crown Store upgrade as a reward for stable training. Yeah, yeah. Rain dropping some science, absolutely. Slow chat, so that only slow chat. So that was only the half comment. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, it's actually, we got a lot of people in chat, guys. Is our chat here that what you can see on stream, is that long enough? I could actually expand that if it'd like it. Maybe I'll just do it real quick, guys. If you don't mind, let me just and I'll do it in kind of a ghetto way here, I think, but I should be able to just duplicate that somewhere here. There should be a duplicate. Copy. There we go. Copy paste. There we go. Hey, cool. It's probably gonna be a little bit ghetto. We'll see. And then, oh, you know what? I might need to tell. That actually might be a little bit harder. Well, I think it's probably fine, I suppose. But I don't think I can just expand it. Yeah, dang it, I don't think I can. I'll have to. Well, we'll get that set up for next time, I suppose. I read that section as them preparing for higher player numbers, not player churn, as a result of trying to suck new players in as quick as possible before they tire of the current season and associated season/pass. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with. Oh, 3D, not party. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not super familiar with season passes and all that stuff, and from a player's experience of having that what that's like and understanding fully how that works from a developer perspective, because I haven't played a lot of games that are like that. And so I admittedly just have less knowledge about that. So I don't think I have any useful insights or comments about it. But I appreciate you guys that do. I threw them $100 so I didn't have to grind skills and guides and guilds. Sorry. If I did class already, if I did class already, let me duplicate it so I can enjoy it instead of repeat drawn out stories. Yeah. I mean, that's, I think Chicken Ear's talking about like buying all your skill lines and everything like that. And it is not enjoyable to have to like do things over and over again that you've already done. You're just going through clicking. ESO has a lot of stuff that's essentially designed to like waste your time. And instead of, there's actually something I actually meant to mention it earlier. Let me kind of highlight that to marker spot. When it was talking about new content in the zones, maybe we haven't even gone that far. When it was talking about new content earlier, they're talking about like, associated gear chase here with the Craglorn type content. Mike Finnegan, the lead, he's like the dungeon. He's all the PvE content, not all of it, but like much of it, like dungeons and everything, and trials. I think they call it the dungeon team, even though it does trials and other stuff. He's talked about like, like joked about like, people say they don't need a reward, and it's like they won't do it if not a reward, and kind of said it like, these people don't understand, like, people won't do content without a reward. That's just objectively not true, and he's wrong about that. He's provably wrong about that. I and several of the people in Discord play Helldivers, and I get nothing out of Helldivers. There's no loot chase I need. I have everything I need. I play it because it is just insanely fun, and I just love that game. And yes, there is a point where you can chase some gear and get some loot. That's cool, sure. but you don't need that to get people. If you make the content fun enough, if you make it enjoyable enough, people will just do it. And it's and I don't have any issues with Mike. He seems like a fine guy. I'm not hating on him or whatever, but like that the person in charge of that doesn't understand that it's not about a loot chase, especially in an MMO, is just that. I mean, mind blowing. Like that's crazy, and it's also like, oh, maybe there's a reason some of the things are the way they are, and that it's not necessarily great. I play it for democracy. That's the only good reason, Mother Clucker. Just a Miss says, I remember the year of server improvement after their first patch. You randomly die in AS if you jump. Good times. Oh man, that one was fun. For those who don't remember, in Asylum Sanctorum, if you jumped, your character would die. I think it would like consider you out of bounds, and if you're out of bounds, it just kills your character. Season pass like Fortnite? Yeah, I have no idea. Apocryphal Soldier. Sparkrip says, who was the PvP dead they had on stream? That's a good question, Spark. Spark is referencing recently they did I think he's referencing a developer who is now in charge, I think, of PvP, and he was doing a stream where he was playing, and apparently his play was like pretty terrible. It was so bad that they took the stream down, so you can't find the video. You can only find like clips of it that other people had, and the thing is that a few people. I saw one YouTuber who mostly does PvP stuff, which I don't really do, so I didn't really. He could be very famous, guys. I'm sorry, I just don't PvP very much. And he was commenting on it. He had a 1 bar Oaken Soul healer build, and he did not a heavy attack to get back resources. And this is the guy in charge of PvP and and stuff like that. If you don't know what that means, it's like someone being in charge of designing the rules for chess and not knowing how the pieces move. And you're like, wait, what? This is the guy in charge? It just it's wild. And they took it down and they made it seem like they tried to spin it or whatever. And it's not that guy's fault, right? Like I think that maybe there's some whoever his boss was left the company. I think not too long ago, and so maybe he just got thrust in this position. But the fact that that's who they have, it's like, yeah, there's clearly something going on here. Book Magic says most PvPers don't care for the few rewards in that content, and getting the gear there isn't hard. It just takes a while. People play it for the fun. Yeah, exactly, Book. And people do that with PvE content. I run trials all the time. Nani runs trials all the time. Nani, are you trying to get loot from all the trials you run? The 10 trials you run a week or whatever? 9. Yeah, and Mist. Yeah, no one is getting loot from Asylum Sanctorum or Cloud Rest, but people do those. Yeah, because they're incredibly fun. Apocryphal Soldier says they couldn't figure out changing the meta every 4 months, killed the fun factor for so many. How would a season pass gear chase be a step forward? It's like they can't learn. Yeah, I agree. Wampus, this guy's this guy sucks. Let's make him a manager. No, dude, I don't think we should it's not necessarily that guy's fault, right? Like that's a funny statement, but like I don't blame that person, right? It's whoever put him in charge. I honestly think that the only time we'll get a real positive change in ESO, what needs to happen is, and I've said stuff like this before in a more emotional manner, and so let me say it in a very dry manner, and also preface this with something. Okay, I don't wish anybody ill will. I like people. Life is very difficult, and I don't want anybody to have struggles in life. I wish things were better. Okay, I'm in the U.S. I wish everybody had health care and could make a living wage. Okay, even people that I don't like, I still wish them well, right? I don't, at least I want to, right? At my best. Okay. I don't think I think what ESO needs, what Elder Scrolls needs, and it's not going to happen, is honestly, a replacement of most of the top management, because they make bad decisions. They've been making bad decisions for a while, and I don't think they're capable of doing the job they're trying to do, which is why they're doing it so poorly. And should they have been put in that position in the first place? I would say probably not. So it's probably somebody else's fault for putting them in that position and not giving them the tools and helping them to improve to a point where they can do the job, well. And so until that happens. So it's definitely, I don't think it's that person's fault, right? They're probably doing the best they can, as I hope most of us are. But that doesn't change the fact that you might be like, yeah, I don't think this person is, if you go to a very nice restaurant and the chef in the back it sends out garbage that you're paying hundreds of dollars for, right? You can be like, this dude shouldn't be working here. Like, that dude should be fired. You need somebody else here, right? It's not like you hate the chef or you wish poorly for the chef. What you're really saying, you're mad because you got this bad experience. And then you're saying like, yeah, I think it's okay to be like, yeah, this dude should be fired. This dude shouldn't be there. When I've said stuff like that before, people felt like it was hateful, and that's the comments I got. And so I took that video down, and I don't say stuff like that anymore because that's how it comes off, and that's how people that I like and respect and whatever have told me it comes off. I would like to believe in a world that we can hold both those ideas, but I don't think that most people feel that way. And I understand that I can attach myself emotionally from a lot of this stuff more than I think most people can. And so for me, it doesn't, uh, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. It doesn't seem like it feels like to other people like I hate this person or hate these people or something like that. And it's not at all like that. It's just that like, hey, I don't think you're capable of doing the job that you're in right now. Yeah. For the time sync of Infinite Archive gear sets, they're mostly mild. Yeah. And apocryphal, like I wish a lot of times that, um, Mel said, I think Nani went to a trial. Probably she did. Yeah. I think for the time sync, yeah, the Infinite Archive, like we all wanted that gear to be really good. I thought that was going to change the meta and was going to be really interesting. And then they put out, like they normally do, kind of garbage sets. Another thing that, when they're talking about the continual pace that they had to keep, is that they put out all these sets that are just garbage. And like a couple of them every once in a while will be good, but most of them aren't very good. And it's like why it just makes it harder for new players, and it doesn't add anything to the game to have these weird random sets besides confuse people, make people think there's 700 plus sets or something in the game, and it just confuses people. So yeah, we don't need more sets in the game. We could probably, I mean, sure, if you want to add some new something, but like delete some of the old ones and make things a little bit easier. The PvP event revealed the Emperor has no clothes. Yeah, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Yeah, yeah, and those things like that are good because those of us who keep up with all this stuff, not just creators, but anybody who keeps up with all this stuff a lot, they we see this stuff, and I've known a lot of this stuff for a long time. And when I've talked about it, there's a lot of people who don't understand, and it's very hard to help them understand, especially when the company is spinning something else. And so when these moments happen, you can be like, see this, okay, and this has been going on for years. This is just one symptom of it, and it helps people to kind of see and understand. But otherwise, you're just kind of you're a hater or something else. So. Book Magic says he needed a host. They should never expect him to lead a PvP team with queuing, etc., and expect them to be able to conversate well at the same time. He isn't hired to be a streamer. 100%. Yeah, Book Magic. Yeah, I absolutely agree. It was funny. I was at PAX West and I actually got to meet some of you guys there, which was probably the highlight of the trip. But I was playing an indie game and the dev was there and he's like talking to me and he's like, have you ever played a game like this before? And it was like a rhythm game. So like a music game. And I was like, no, I've never done Guitar Hero or anything like that. And I was like, no. And so I'm playing, it's like, oh, you're picking it up pretty quick. And I was like, I mean, let's hope so. Right. Like I'm supposed to play games for a living. I'm a streamer. He's like, oh, okay. And then it got harder and I was trying to talk and I was like, hold on, I gotta focus. I don't know if I can talk and play this. And he was like, isn't that your job? He was just like, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, it is. Yeah, 100%. That's my job, but I still can't do it. It's hard. It's not trivial. So yeah, I don't blame him for struggling or whatever. Although, no, probably should know how to heavy attack. If that is what happened. Revamp existing sets like Skinny Cheeks wanted to do. Man, maybe we should watch the Skinny Cheeks video at some point because that broke my heart and that was unfortunate. But yeah, 100%. Wheeler needed help is all. Oh, okay. Okay, so it sounds like you guys saw it. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it seems like. That's interesting. Yeah. Either way, I still, no matter what, I wouldn't beat that person up too much because whatever it was, I don't think it was ultimately. I mean, maybe they should have been like, "This is a bad idea," but like that's about it. Jadric says, "I thought I roast you pretty hard. That's rough, buddy." uh, Oh man. Yeah, it was pretty good. Wicked and Weird was there. He laughed pretty hard. All right. So I think yeah, UI design that'll all be cool. Continuing to tell great stories. I'll be honest, guys, not the channel if you want to hear about. I love reading. I play a lot of tabletop role playing games. Um, check out my shirt, and everything else. But I don't play MMOs for that. Although, you know what? Hold on, wait. I just saw Dark Brotherhood. New stories focused around the hallmark of Elder Scrolls organizations like Dark Brotherhood. Oh, oh. So it's unfortunate because I don't think that they'll make these Dark Brotherhood and Thieves Guild themed because you'd have to be on a Nightblade to do them. Well, you can do them on other classes, but it's not the same. But these are two of the best quest lines and areas in ESO. So that would be really cool. And the Dark Brotherhood skill line is, or quest line is pretty cool. I don't care at all. Some people, does anybody like really love Mage, like Mage's Guild? How would you guys rank that on a scale of 1 to 10? I would say that like Dark Brotherhood and Thieves Guild, like 8 or 9, really high. Um, I don't care at all and even know anything about these other two. And I'm trying to think. I mean, back in like Daggerfall, like the Mages Guild quests were really cool. But in ESO, like I've never, and Daggerfall the game, guys, not the area. Um, and the Fighters Guild were just like go kill stuff, as far as I remember, back in Daggerfall days. I've played all of the Elder Scrolls games, like going back to Arena. Um, when it first came out, I was a kid and I played it after it had been out for a few years, but I played it. And then Daggerfall was primo. Splitting a large zones across multiple updates. Okay, sure. And then yeah, continuing the stories. I mean, some of the stories in. I say I don't care about the stories. The Elden like Grotwood storyline. My wife is a tree hugger, and I have done all these quests, these zone quests with her multiple times, and they're really good. And like I enjoyed them and I thought they're really cool. Some of them, like I just wish there was in-game rewards. So I've even done a couple of videos on these. So I guess me saying that I'm not really into stories is kind of a lie, but it's just not the main thing I cover with ESO. But some of those were really cool. And then some zones are very lackluster. I will also note that the person who was in charge of the of like the I think the story writing, whoever's in charge of that team, I think somebody high up. They now work on Ashes of Creation. They left the company over a year ago, if I'm remembering correctly. Bookmaster says I watched it. I also watched it from Cypher Stream 2. Wheeler should have known the heavy attack for resources, but again, anyone can have a brain fart when playing, especially under pressure. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, man. And I appreciate your like measured approach, right? Like to that. So thanks for saying something. I think more of their devs need to put more playtime into the game. Don't need to be great, but need the basics down. Yeah, absolutely. You need to understand the basics of the game. And the other thing is that like somebody at the company needs to be an expert. Somebody at the company, it could be anybody. Somebody needs to be an expert, and then everybody else needs to listen to them. So probably somebody pretty high up. Somebody should be getting paid a lot of money to play ESO so that they know the game like we know the game. And if they don't, that's a problem. And they don't, and it is a problem. Is I guess rather what I should actually be saying there, because I mean we've all seen it, right? Like it's been a pretty huge deal. So speaking of, oh wait, hold on, we need to go up a little bit. Hey, we're almost done. Okay. We're embarking on these changes to give the development team the space to find a new cadence that can mix new content and systems with addressing feedback, fixing issues, adding new quests and activities to existing zones and stories. It will not be be as regular as the old annual cadence, so expect seasonal launches, new content, systems, and test announcements throughout the year, not necessarily in January as we have done since 2017. Speaking of, to give everyone a heads up, our next big announcement event will be in April 2025 as we introduce our first season. There will be a bunch more in the April announcement, but for that you will have to wait. We'll still have a content update in March 2025 on PTS as normal in January. Okay, so that's what someone was saying earlier. And we will give you more information about that sometime early in the new year. You've already heard the news. They will not be doing a 2025 North American community event as we originally planned. This was a difficult decision, but as shown by all the planning and development changes listed here, we need to focus on the game itself for a while this year. That said, I know a lot of people were, they said that they had a bunch this last year and they were basically impossible, only giving a couple days of notice, as someone helped us out in chat telling me about. So I just have a couple of friends who are very upset about this, the way it was handled this last year. And I think the problem is, I think the reason they were upset is because this makes it so there's things that are like, I don't know if I want to say that they're. I would say if I was not talking on a YouTube channel and I was talking to my friends, I would say they're lying. I think that because that's how it feels. I think you could say it's marketing or a lot of other things that would be more technically accurate. But if I was just talking to a friend, that's how I would typically address this kind of stuff. They say that they care about the community and that like the hashtag ESO fam is not just a hashtag or, it's not just a marketing thing. That's 100% a marketing thing because ESO, there's a lot of things that are ESO. So doing hashtag ESO doesn't actually link you back to the Elder Scrolls Online. So ESO fam is their way of getting around that. And then they're like, oh no, we're really a family. And I think that them pretending like that was the case. And I'm sure there are people that feel like, oh, it really is a family. But there are people that I think would love for it to feel like that who feel really disrespected and like they're not part of the family, even though they want to be and they've tried. They've been with the game since it launched. They've never been as negative on the game as I have at times, and et cetera. They've always given ZOS the benefit of the doubt, and then when these things get canceled and they get 3 days notice and they say, oh, we'd love to have you, but like really it's basically a private event by another name, they feel really, I mean, that hurts, right? Like that hurts on like an emotional level. And I just, I find that unfortunate. So, those are my friends who feel this way. If I, let me know if I'm representing this correctly. Okay. To everybody, because it's not my feelings, because I just haven't kept track with it, whatever, for whatever reasons, but send me a DM in Discord or something and let me know, if I'm representing this correctly. And finally, my thanks to you all. Cool. Thanks for the year. Yeah, etc. Okay, cool. I mean, that's it. I think we're here. Let's catch up on some chat, and we'll see if we have time for this. We'll chat about it. I'll have to check the time here in a second, but let me see where we are in chat. Book Magic says I watch it. Oh yeah, okay. I think I already read that. I think more of Book Magic says I think more of their devs need to, yeah. Okay, we already read all that. Okay, I'm mostly caught up. Someone that loves Cyrodiil should be in charge of Cyrodiil. Yeah, that's a great point, Apocryphal. Yeah. I think that we all more or less agreed on. We can talk about details and whatever, but I think we all agree that there's a problem, and it's major. And I think that yeah. Maybe that's it. That's all that needs to be said. So, yeah. Oh man. Well, cool. Let's. I think we got time here. How long we been going? Going a little under 2 hours. Guys, should we circle? This is 42 minutes long. Can I don't know how much of this I can skip. And if I do this, we're talking about another 2 hours. I am going to have to eat dinner in like an hour or so. Let's keep going. We're going to do it. I might have to skip parts of this. If anybody can help me out, if there are parts that I shouldn't skip or I should, definitely make sure I watch, please let me know, so that I don't miss anything. And yeah, Book Magic agrees. Yeah, yes, for someone who loves PvP to have the final say over the PvP changes, 100%. So, man, and there's I've been encouraged by several people close to me to do a little bit more of these kind of reaction videos and kind of explaining, I think, a little bit more because, um, for whatever reason, they think I have interesting things to say. So you guys let
As
me
you
know.
watch this video.
Let me know if you're in, if you've enjoyed this kind of stuff and you want to see a little bit more of this. I'm not going to suddenly turn into a only reacting to other videos. Like, I'm just not interested in that. But I can do this with a handful of things that I feel like I have uh, insight into and knowledge of, and what have you. So, okay, so this is Nephis saying he can finally tell us why he's done with the Elder Scrolls Online. Now there are some people. So I had this mentioned to me by quite a few people, and some of you, I bet we could even find one here. Let's see if we can. Some of you might be like, I have also mentioned like I thought he quit a while ago. I think he did. I think he's done a video saying that he was quitting, and I think he kind of stopped. He kind of quit like a year before that. I'm not blaming him. Like I get it. But I'm pretty sure that he like did a video that was like he was quitting ESO. I don't know. Can we before this? So I think there's some people that are like, wait, and then there's other people that were very like very upset and like like we're like, oh, this is a bummer. This is the end of a end of an era or something else like that. So yeah, I guess I don't see it. Um, but I know he's done it, and it was like a year ago or so. I guess someone could link it or whatever, but yeah. Oh, wow, you pulled up Nephis? Yeah. Why do you say that, apocryphal? um, I know why this is wild. Yeah, funny story. I made it into a video of Nephis a while ago, and somebody sent me. This is like a couple of years ago. Um, a couple of things here. This is just general information I think is very valuable. I mentioned earlier about public figures. So I don't know the legal definition, but I would not be surprised if I was considered a public figure. I believe I am. And I think most YouTubers are. Someone who has put themselves out there to the public. So movie stars and stuff like that are also considered politicians and what have you, right? If you're putting yourself out to the public, I would also argue a lot of the employees for these various game companies, whenever they're developers and they're high up enough that they're on the screen, right? That's kind of breaking that seal. And so again, in the US, that's a different legal term, but I think everybody should know if you're going, like I thought before I did YouTube, right? And I thought about like, oh, I'm breaking the seal. Do I want to do this? And the answer is no. Like left to my own devices, I would rather be a very private person. But I did want to do YouTube, and I did want to do what I'm doing now, and I wanted it bad enough that I was willing to do that. And so I always try to be very careful with people that aren't public figures, right? And be very careful with stuff like that. And part of that is being whether I am or not, again, legally, I don't know, but I take into account that, yeah, I probably am. People are going to say things about you, and they might be mean to you, right? I I have a I think I just have an incredibly high tolerance for that kind of stuff. It doesn't hurt my feelings, and I'm not saying this because I'm about to like roast Nephis. I'm not going to do that at all. But you just have to realize that people who do what I do should absolutely know. If you're a tiny creator, maybe not, but I've only got what, like less than 8,000 subs here, right, guys? And only a handful on over on Twitch, and I am aware that doing this is cracking that seal, and so I think that honestly, anybody who knows what they're doing should know. Certainly, anybody who's in marketing at one of these large companies and what have you. So, yeah. Nani says he references the Leaving ESO video in this latest one. Is this the latest one? Do I have the right video? Is this not the right one? Nephis is mentioned on the video about them not doing the NA big meetup, that he thought Zos had financial problems. Oh, that made me wonder if he was getting out then. Okay. And then Goose says, I think it was a couple of years ago. He was thinking of quitting because he was being attacked by some very toxic people. That's interesting, Goose. Goose, on that note, because I think this will probably come up sometime in this video. Um, I have friends who really like Nephis and have like his content. I don't know if they know him personally or anything, and they have watched his videos for a long time, and he helped them learn how to tank and stuff like that. I think tank. I don't know, and they will tell you that they would tell you and have told me that he's toxic. Okay, they like him and whatever, and they would tell you that he's toxic. Um, Nephis also, I don't know if they're still up, but he also did a whole video series that was basically being um, mean to people on the internet for, to me, not a lot of great reasons. Where it was like spilling tea, like these videos where he had a channel that he made in his Discord where people could essentially like share like drama or like gossip about people, and then he would cover it on those videos, and he would. I don't think he would be very nice to those people. And I had a very serious issue with those videos because again, I'm a I consider myself to be a public figure, and so I'm fair game. Somebody who and some of these people in some of those videos didn't seem like they were okay mentally. Okay, and he has 40,000 subs. I think he had like 30,000 at the time, 30 something, and to make fun of them or to be mean to them on the internet, is first off, I think he probably would open himself up to legal, like possible legal, uh, because they're not public figures. So just saying mean things like and then the other thing, and I learned this the hard way. So I don't, I mean, he'd been doing this a longer than I had, but I should know, right? Like, so maybe he didn't know. But the other thing is that I realized whenever I mentioned earlier where I did a video, um, I called for someone at ZOS to be fired, right? And people said that was hateful and whatever. And one of the things so people said it was hateful, and that's the reason I took it down. I still feel that way, right? About what has happened and what have you. And I've already mentioned how I think that honestly, a lot of the top people at ZOS would probably be, if the game were to improve, that like they would have to be removed. And but what I realize is like if I say something about somebody in particular, people are crazy, man. People are crazy on the internet, and it could cause someone. So let's say Daedric, right? Like Daedric. Let's say Daedric was a public figure, and I was like, Daedric did this, blah blah blah. Like maybe Daedric's out at the store, right? And he's got his Daedric doesn't have any kids that I know of, but he's got his kid with him. And then somebody's like, "Hey, f you run this game for me, right?" Should that person have that experience with their kid there? Like that would be horrible, right? That'd be traumatic. That could be and if Daedric was like, somebody small or maybe a female, like that could be even worse, right? That could be, and I would never want that to happen to anybody. And I realized that while my channel wasn't big enough or whatever, I don't think anything like that would happen. Like literally not enough people would see the video. Like the chances are like one in a couple of a couple of million or hundreds of millions. But just the idea that could happen made me think, oh, I need to be more careful about what I do and what I say. So, people being toxic to Nephis, okay. One, he's a public figure. And then the other thing is like he's done some pretty messed up things. And I have personally seen some things that I was like, okay, that seems kind of mean, seems kind of rude. So we all make mistakes. We all do things that are wrong. I certainly am no exception. Have done many things in my life that I regret or whatever. But I don't think that Nephis is a victim. And if he is, he's made other people, essentially victims. So that's just my two pennies on that. This has a clip of Gina. This looks like the current one. Okay. In this video, it touches on the toxic stream raids, feeling like token Asian for them, and then the public humiliation of them trying to stream a DJ set. Okay, he is he is very toxic. The issue he has had was people doxing him, and there was a group that was hate rating streams, not just his. Zos did nothing for a long time. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that would say that they feel like Nephis is toxic. I certainly, the ESOU Discord, I've had many bad experiences with it. Someone came into our Discord that was in the boss Discord and had mentioned something over there about like, there's stuff going on. And I participated in the Project Vitality thing. And after that, I stuck over there and I was trying to help people on their channels and what have you. And I had a lot of really negative experiences that I would not wish on most people. And again, you know, my skin is pretty thick when it comes to this kind of stuff. And it was allowed to happen. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff. And so I think a lot of people would. I mentioned that. What did I say? Yeah, one of the help channels I mentioned that, like, hey, a lot of people over, and that was the boss, don't want to go over to ESOU. I think they had mentioned it, like, oh, I got some good resources over there. And I was like, yeah. And I said it very much like this, like, yeah, I think a lot of people, feel like there are, there's a lot of toxicity over there and what have you. And so they're not really interested in going over there. I think that like thing got, back to Nephis, and that's when he put me on a video, and then kicked me out of their Discord. It was also funny there because in the video he says like some person named Nightharrow, and he acts like he doesn't know me. I had DM'd him and talked with him. I was part of the Project Vitality. He knew who I was, but I guess he probably didn't want people to like know that I had a YouTube channel or something, because then that could be like a Streisand effect, I guess. I don't know. Again, I'm not mad at him. I'm not upset about this. It's whatever. It's not a big deal. But there's when people say they feel like he might be toxic or he is toxic, I think that there is certainly some validity to those claims. I hope that we all continue to grow as people, and that all this stuff can be water under the bridge. And I will tell you guys that what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to be the best person I can be. Okay. I'm not always like this. I'm trying to be it's not, I'm not for the camera, but because that's the person I want to be. I want to be kind. I want to be forgiving. I want to be gracious. If you were like a jerk to somebody while I was at the mall and like knock somebody down, the chances of me getting in your face are basically 100%. Okay. All right. So just forgive me that I just know that like both things can be true. Okay. Right. Like I'm trying to, be the nicest, most kindest person I can, but at the same time, there's also a different side. Okay. All right. He has valid concern. Let's watch the video. Let's put it on.
Video, we are dismantling the ESOU Discord server. Many of the ESOU projects and websites
Wait, hold on. Whoa, we hit the ground running.
As you watch this video, we are dismantling the ESOU Discord server.
Whoa. Okay. Dismantling it. Wow. All right. That's crazy. Is this part of the reason everybody's like, this is nuts, watch this?
Many of the ESOU projects and websites, like the ESOU podcast, will be terminated. I am officially withdrawing our communities and guilds behind the scenes support for ESO, and this channel itself will not be making any serious content for the Elder Scrolls Online going forward. I hope you guys had a great end of the year,
guys.
And I wish you a great 2025.
All right. I feel like that was it. We're burning it down. We'll see you guys later.
Going to be a lot of drastic changes coming from my end regarding the content and platforms that we've created and maintained for the Elder Scrolls Online community since 2019, and I'm making this video to explain not just the things you'll be seeing, but as to why I'm doing those things. Because the foundation of this channel, the amazing communal projects we've implemented over the years, and of course the awesome people I've met over the years in my life, have a lot to do with the Elder Scrolls Online. So I strongly feel I owe you guys, my community.
What's also crazy about this is like after being featured in a video, I was like, and I think before that I was like not really super keen on watching Nephis' content, but for personal reasons, when he did like the lore, I saw a video pop up on my feed that was like the lore of Starfield, which is also by the same company, Bethesda, right? I mean, he did video, that has very mixed reviews from people. I know some people love it, but a lot of people really don't. And he was doing lore videos on that. Man, he was doing a lot of free advertising for ZeniMax. So that's, and which, they don't owe him anything for that, but it's like, man, if someone's doing all that for you, like, I don't know, keep them on the team, I guess, if they're doing all that.
And explanation. Some of you have even noticed me unlisting over 1,000 ESO related videos on this channel, which has reasonably prompted many questions from a lot of you. I've had this creative block for the past,
Hey, does anybody know if those T videos are still up, just for people to have reference for? Kind of like what we were talking about earlier with Zoss, with like, it's good for people to see what you're talking about because when you tell them it maybe not. If anybody knows, I don't know what they were called or anything like that, but I would be curious. Maybe you could drop a link or something.
However long now at this point, that you guys may have noticed from this channel where I'm kind of just like everywhere. I just
And I say that I hope he's taking them down. I think that would be like we all make mistakes. I think that would be great, but I'm just curious if they are.
can't get over my creative block, mostly because I'm the kind of person that needs to get everything out of the way, answer your questions, and then move on. And I think the beginning of 2025 is a great opportunity for that. I'm going to talk about why I no longer want to focus on the Elder Scrolls Online in any serious capacity as either a gamer or a content creator. And while some people might look at what I am going to say as typical drama or perhaps superficial, I strongly believe that I have been disrespected, dismissed, and wrongfully suppressed by both the so-called ESO community and ZeniMax Online Studios to the point.
I don't know what the so-called ESO community means, unless he means like people are trying to represent themselves as the community that are not.
That it actually affected my very well-being. Emotionally, it would feel
Okay, so this has all been. I just want to make sure I understand. So that's all been so rough that it's like affected him
look at what
physically
I am
and
going to
emotionally.
say as typical drama.
I just want to
or
make sure I
perhaps
understand this.
superficial. I strongly believe that I have been disrespected, dismissed, and wrongfully suppressed by both the so-called ESO community and ZeniMax Online Studios to the point that it actually affects.
I'm not entirely sure how that matters. So he's a YouTuber mostly, right? Like unless I'm and a streamer, unless I'm missing something. I mean the people you being like being like suppressed, like that's YouTube. I don't think that has anything to do with the ESO community. And he's been a member of like the stream team and privileged to like privy to like behind the scenes stuffs for the few like a very like literally like 10 or 15, right? Like people behind the scenes um for a long time. So I'm not sure like it I yeah, I'm not Nani's helped me out here. I think he is referring to the streamer community. I mean, a lot of the people from ESOU have been mean to me and said mean things about me. Um, I don't feel like I'm a victim of. Uh, I just don't feel like I'm a victim. So, um, but maybe he's gotten a lot of hate that even if he's gotten a lot of hate that I don't know about, like, how does that, like, this is part of being a public figure. Like, you gotta, this is not like a normal person, guys. This is not you, okay? A lot of people are like, oh, if this were me and people were mean to me, like, if you're choosing to be on the internet, like, you gotta know people are gonna be mean to you. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's necessarily okay, but like, I don't know. I guess we'll see what some bad stuff happened here, I guess. So
my very well-being. Emotionally, it would feel so good right now just to commit to, theatrics and burn bridges in the most egregious manner. It would feel good to get angry and to be incredibly vindictive in the things I would love to commit to. However,
I hope that's not the video we're watching because I don't want any part of that.
I've talked to very good friends and close advisors
Okay,
familiar with
good.
my situation on a lot of what I'm going to talk to you about today. And despite not being given professional courtesy in any sense of the word, I will still remain professional. I will not share all of the screenshots I have. I will not break any legally binding NDAs. I am not going to call
This almost feels like a threat. I'm not going to do it.
for anyone to get fired. I'm not going to call for a boycott or anything like that. And I won't name too many names that may all be misconstrued as me losing control of myself. In fact, I wish the best for many of the parties involved. And if my attempt at that level of professionalism makes it seem like I'm lying about what I'm talking about, then whatever. Very recently, on December 9th, 2024, I left the official ESO.
This all sounds like this seems like a good approach to take. I just want to say that. I'm sorry, I don't have anything to say so far. I just want to make sure that like we got through the intro and he said what he had to say and what have you.
Stream team, or ESO creator program, as they're calling it now. This was a decision that left me oddly feeling a huge sense of relief and was the culmination of several.
Okay, 96. Okay, this he is pretty controlled. And this is a safe stream to watch. Okay, he stepped back. Okay, cool.
Tumultuous events since the year 2022 that have made me feel unsafe and uncomfortable. To give more context to those who
It's unsafe and uncomfortable. Unsafe. Okay.
may not know me, I have been playing ESO.
I guess is he talking about being doxxed or something like that? Is that what we were talking about earlier? Because like streamers get like swatted. That kind of stuff happens.
Since 2013's beta phase. In the decade that followed, I have done many world record raid and arena runs. I had led a community initiative called Project Vitality that involved over 250 active raid leads in all 6 platforms and servers for ESO. I helped create ESOU that hosts website tools such as ESO directory, paying out of my own pocket for such things most of the time. I helped host
Some of that stuff I've heard some of this stuff before. Like, I mean, this is all stuff you do to like grow your brand. Like I've been working with someone to help make a website for ESO, and I paid for that out of my own pocket. I run a Discord for ESO. I do that. I'm not really sure. He's not doing this out of the goodness of his heart, right? Like he's doing this because he's a content creator. I assume, unless he's like done making content, that's what he wants to be.
Over 20.
But maybe his point is just that like I've done a bunch of stuff for the ESO community, just as like an example. Maybe that's where he's going.
4,000 Discord members and teaching and disseminating everything to know about ESO.
I personally found the ESOU Discord to often be very toxic and to be less helpful, especially to new players. And anybody who didn't feel the exact way as like I often got attacked and over there. So whatever.
I founded the Horror Mode Stream team on Twitch, which showcased both PvP and PvE endgame content creators, many of whom are now on the official ESO stream team.
He is mainly describing who he is and what he has done involved in it. Okay, so you should give it like maybe like people that don't know.
I've administrated a PvE endgame feedback group with direct developer contact called the Council of Raiders since 2018. I have been Guild Master of Sempiternal, one of the most influential communities and guilds in ESO's history.
So he's just saying who we all know who he is, right? Is this okay? Because I'm just worried about time. Is it okay to skip ahead here? I feel like I'm gonna do it. And you guys tell me if I missed something hugely important.
In 2022, several events occurred, one of which was Update 35, probably the worst patch to ever occur in this MMO's history, which finally happened after the.
What was 35? What happened in 35? I mean, I'm sure I remember what it was. I just don't remember the numbers associated. Okay, he's just trying to communicate how invested he is. Okay, yeah, that's valid. Okay, I appreciate this, guys. I really do appreciate the info in case I'm missing stuff.
Rather sudden dissolution of the ESO class representative program. But another thing that happened that year before that depressing third quarter of 2020.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the point I was actually making before, where like he was doing like lore content on a game that I don't think was incredibly popular just because he really liked it, which also benefited Bethesda. So I think that's maybe what you're all getting at. That was when I made videos, all the random combat changes to rebalance the game. Okay.
And two was something that most people don't know about, and that was the coordinated
raids
in the ESO directory for Twitch and Discord, conducted by a group connected to alt-right and white nationalist movements. The group was led by a disgruntled 5 IQ PvPer, which is why it took place in the ESO sphere initially. Alt-right and white nationalist movements. The group was led by a disgruntled 5 IQ PvPer, which
disgruntled 5 IQ PvPer. Listen, they're white nationalists. I'm not trying to all right, defend them or whatever, but the name calling is
which is why it took place in the ESO sphere initially. And it was
if you say someone's a white nationalist, you don't need to insult their intelligence. That's all I'm saying.
My community, my guild, basically on the front lines yet again, shielding a lot of the ESO community, just as it had for multiple incidents and bad actors prior to this.
Okay. Shielding the ESO community. That's interesting because I think a lot of people would feel like um, the some of the community that and I don't lump all these people together. I don't know, you know. For example, I think Skinny Cheeks has like a heart of gold and is almost too nice. Okay, and I think he was listed on that stream or what have you. But I also know that there's again the toxicity that I've experienced personally in ESOU is like shielding. Like I don't know, that was I certainly didn't feel shielded in a lot of the ways that I was attacked. So that seems um, okay.
specific incident
I'm just skeptical, is what I'm telling you guys.
that noticed what was brewing roughly 2 weeks before those hate raids went into full effect, which ultimately dissuaded quite a lot of streamers to no longer stream in the ESO directory. We sent warnings out to both the hard mode stream team and to ZeniMax Online Studios through the ESO stream team, but
Just want to give a quick update on, I'm just reading this, on the recent hate raids that targeted the ESO directory. We have reason to believe that there will be another 1 or 2 spates of the hate raids within the next 2 weeks. So we do advise you, your Twitch moderators, and Discord moderators to remain alert. Please keep your role mentioned here not silenced, as I will ping the role when there's about to be another hate raid in the directory, or if we have more account names for you to ban/block on Twitter, Twitch, and so forth. I know it's exhausting or it can be stressful. But we're sticking with you all the way, and we'll help you in whatever we can. What happened with this? Like, what are these hate raids? Like, I don't know what that. I don't even know what that means, guys. I'm sorry if I'm ignorant of this, but I don't even know what that means. I mean, I assume they just go on and like say bad things and or mean, I guess, which sucks and is not okay in general. But I'm trying to understand what that even means.
for the latter, it wasn't taken super seriously initially and potentially seen as, oh, just another instance of PvP drama, which was extremely frustrating. Long story short, it wasn't until the hate raids started getting out of control, even leaking into other Twitch directories for some of you who may remember that year, and the group trolling a legal customer service rep, that Bethesda ZeniMax Online Studios actually sent legal warnings to the aforementioned individual's physical address and worked with Twitch and Discord, which halted most of what was going on. During the course of those hate raids,
That's interesting. That I don't know how this stuff normally works. It's really interesting that ZeniMax got involved, because it sounds like this was on Twitch, and I know that they tried to warn ESO that this was happening, but it's weird that this is like an ESO issue. I would think that ESO would prefer not to have anything to do with this, because it's just not their problem until it became their problem, and then they want to do something about it.
attempts to dox and harass me along with some of my streamer friends got to an all-time high. We played it cool, and at least for the hard mode stream team and several Discord servers we could coordinate in as a community of moderators, we mitigated most of the potential damages, though I can't say the same for many others affected. I was verbally told on the phone.
That sucks. I didn't know anything about this. Bookmaster says Twitch will ban streamers for what people say in their chats. So hate raids where people purposely trying to get streamers banned. Oh, I did not know this. Right now, we've got 30 or 40 people watching on YouTube, and on Twitch, we've got 2. Love you guys on Twitch. So I don't know a whole lot about Twitch, just because I'm not familiar with it. And then Nani's saying mostly women streamers, LGBTQ streamers, and streamers of color. I wonder why I wasn't targeted. Okay, that makes sense. It was really bad. I almost didn't stream because of it. I had many friends hit hard. I wasn't even on Twitch at this time too, so that's also part of it. I would have had no idea. Okay. Well, that sucks. I had no idea. I feel like, yeah, that I
Later on, basically, we're
Which I knew.
sorry that we didn't take you seriously at first, and that future precautionary measures will be taken, the details of which
sorry, they probably didn't care, and they probably didn't care until it like affected their bottom line, and until they knew it was and saw it was affecting it. Like I can see them entirely being reactive concerning this.
I will
Because remember, guys, they're companies. They don't care about you. They care about money. So keep that in mind.
obviously not get into for safety reasons. But after that, a lot of people in my community felt disillusioned with the initial response from the company and the seeming lack of effort in moderating actual very serious offenders, even after we've proven to be right about that whole thing, that some people decided it was no longer worth it to put ourselves.
I just want to say this is being delivered really well. I like his tone and everything like that, and it's very different than what I've seen in the past. I guess I didn't like. It's like this very serious topic that like is should have been handled better and everything else. Is what led him to leave. I guess is where we're getting to. I'm sorry, I should
On
let
the
it roll.
front line ever again, which was further reinforced by the effects of Update 35. Now, to give context as to what Update 35 was, much of the patch was combat reworking and balancing, which in itself is fine, but the actual proposed changes were nonsensical, extreme, and poorly timed, not even 3 months after the release of the latest expansion, which
Hot
featured a
garbage.
new raid, where essentially a lot of people's progress in it would be reset due to how much playstyles and even healing itself would change. Of course, the update was announced after the dissolution of the ESO class rep program, which was incredibly bad PR. The creative director at the time made the worst tweets possible that made people
Oh, I remember this tweet. Knee jerk reactions, while not unexpected, they're still tiresome and disappointing. I get it. Change is scary. At the same time, though, a little trust would be much appreciated. At least I experience actual changes before guessing and going off the deep end. Yeah, I mean, this is like one of a long list of Rich Lambert's like wild tweets. Um, uh,
feel very invalidated, and it was just not a good time. The announcement of these changes, not even the launch of the actual patch, demolished player trust in the capability of the developers to.
I mean, there wasn't a lot of trust to begin with, so that's why it was like we saw. Oftentimes, they'll put stuff on the PTS, and it's just like, what are you even thinking? I've done a few videos explaining to try to like people that don't necessarily know about the sweatiest stuff in in game about how they'll like I just picked a couple of specific examples to make it to because it takes a lot to explain why this is such a bad decision to kind of go into that explaining why they're why we react the way we do and why it is justified even though it seems like it's not and the Rich Lambert would argue that like it's not. Heresy says marketing plans for games include Twitch rankings. You would think they would act to keep. Oh yeah, 100 to keep viewer numbers up in the directory. Yeah, 100%. I could just also see them not wanting to do anything unless they like actually knew and hearing from somebody in stream team. I mean, yeah, you would think they would have some trust in this guy. They've been working with him for years and years. But I can also, I mean, everything else at Zoss is ran so poorly, and I know a bit about their marketing. I've seen stuff from their marketing team. So my point was that like not that I'm just not surprised. That's all.
Understand what they were doing with the game. In regards to the aforementioned Project Vitality, that's all over a dozen raids being hosted daily and allowed people who had never raided before to be eased into harder PvE content at a friendly rate, all to show the company that, hey, people are really interested in endgame. And so maybe hear us out on some of many sorely needed ideas for progression reward systems.
Um,
That project, which involved almost 300 raid leads across Xbox, PlayStation, and PC platforms and servers, that project died almost immediately on the first week of the public testing server. We lost 185 raid leads 6 weeks before Update 35's patch actually went live. Many raid leads and raiders quit the game because the changes were that bad. I tried my best to keep that project alive. It was like our dream baby that ESOU had been working towards for almost 4 years, but it was already predictable, though, as to how fragmented things would become. Just like in 2017's Morrowind patch, we would see guilds and communities turtle up and.
I don't think that that's why the Project Vitality failed. I have a different take on all of that. Not to say that Update 35 was not horrible and what have you, but I would have a different perspective, as one might imagine.
Prioritize themselves
And I participated in that, just to be clear.
rather than some, communal project, which is exactly what happened. And the game is still feeling the effects of Update 35 years later. I still had some optimism though, and just like all the other patches where combat was for some baffling reason changed
This is heartbreaking. He's like, I still had some optimism. uh,
drastically. We tested all the changes. And when the finalized update 35 went live, we went raiding with a progression group in the new trial. And there's a video I made called The Worst MMO Update Ever that shows my immediate reaction after we realized just how much most groups would be forced to regress and lose weeks, in some cases months, of progression.
so what for those who maybe don't understand or don't know what he's talking about is that you have these groups that have worked toward for like months and months towards a goal, and you know you're dialing things in, you're learning to get better, and it takes a lot of work, which is for a lot of us very fun. And at the time, I think we were working towards, you know, a lot of people working towards like Teleria hard mode, like or I'm sorry, hard mode Dread Cell Reef, which was I think the newest trial at the time, and you know working towards the hard mode and trying to um or maybe it wasn't even the newest, but anyways, we're working towards it, trying to, you know, get the hard mode, and it's been months, and then your DPS and everything gets cut, you know, way down. That makes the fights so much harder, and so it is like kind of soul crushing for those people in those raid groups. That's a honestly though, that's like a tiny percentage of the community, and I could understand that not being a priority for them. I understand that it is upsetting for those of us in the in-game community. However, I also understand that why we might not be someone that they think about too much just because we're such a small community.
It was bad. And the next day after that raid, after that video was published, I get asked to do a phone call by a ZeniMax Online Studios CM or community manager. The phone call itself was super awkward. There was a lot of hesitation in the air when it was implied someone higher up had tapped the CM and asked them to talk to me about that video. I was asked nervously if I still wanted to work with them as a ESO content creator, and I was like, sure, I still love the game despite its issues, and I respect the developers. Then I was given a weird lecture about how responsibility comes with power as a content creator, and that I should not make shock jockey content like Howard Stern does, how I needed to be constructive and not emotional. I was warned, or maybe threatened in retrospect, about how the
Jeez.
gaming industry was small and other companies wouldn't work with a content creator who was unprofessional. I was told I shouldn't say things that I wouldn't say to a developer's face in person. After that bizarre call, my initial reaction was, man, I must have been way too emotional, or maybe I had made some really crude remarks, and so I rewatched that video, which again, by the way, is still up on YouTube. And
We might need to go check this video out.
unlike some other content creators at the time, it's very clear I did not call for people to be fired. I did not debase the developers. I did not
Again, I've done that.
call for people to stop playing the game. I did not send death threats. I said things I would and have absolutely already told face to face with developers in person. And I did nothing but convey the reality of the situation with some warranted emotion.
So this whole section here is like attempts to censor me, and I feel like we switch gears a little bit here. I'm a little bit. I know this is all related, but like emotionally, I'm feeling like a little bit of whiplash. Again, just how I'm feeling, not like he's doing something wrong here, but so what I'm hearing from him, so this feels like this is really interesting. I don't know if he had a different experience historically with ZeniMax, with content creator kind of stuff, but none of this surprises me. So he made a video that was negative about the game, and then he got a call from the community manager because he's like part of the team and everything, asking first if you want to work with us, and then what they were trying to do is manipulate him. They're not trying to censor him. They want to manipulate him into only saying good things about the game. And they didn't like the way he said the negative things. You can only say negative things to a company. The only good way you can say negative things is if they're kind of good. And if you're being very, very measured to the point that you're really just saying nice things. They don't want you to say anything negative about the game. This is part of the unwritten social contract that it sounds like he violated and didn't even know that it was there, where it's like, oh, if you're going to work with us, then you got to play ball, right? Because they give you early access to stuff, right? They send the streamers and everything, the stream team, like all these letters that they could make content about. So there's this very like incestuous, like, you know, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours relationship with these game companies. It's one of the reasons why I'm not interested in I'm interested in creator programs only so I can get early access because that's really helpful for me. But like, they're problematic, and companies want them to be problematic so that they can. Right? We talked about there being two kinds of social media or two kinds of media, approaches, marketing approaches, and we can. See, I've already talked about how ESO is the one that wants to control and manipulate the what we think and talk about and what have you. And that's all they're trying to do to him. And it sounds like he didn't expect that. I don't know if they hadn't done that to him in the past or if this was just like the latest straw or this was like the biggest deal or something like that. So, I mean, this is all like, of course this would happen. I'm surprised they didn't drop him before. Well, actually, I'm not. So companies, when they pick people who they're going to have promote their game and everything else like that, they only care about your audience size and what kind of influence you can have. That's why they call us influencers, right? We don't call ourselves influencers. That's from the marketing team. And so, yeah, they're not necessarily trying to censor him. I think they're trying to manipulate him into saying good things about whatever it was and calming everybody down who was upset. Another thing that they try to do is like, oh, tell us on the forums. Now, this is a really interesting thing. Like, oh, well, don't rage at us on Twitter or whatever. The reason that companies do that, so the reason they do that is because who sees the forums? Only other people that are playing the game. That's insulated. They want you to yell into a dark hole so that no one can hear you. But if you go on Twitter, if you go on YouTube and everything else, people who don't play the game will hear about it and they'll hear about how bad the game is going. We all have this happen, right? Right? You hear about other games that where like, oh, Destiny, there's like this issue with monetization or with the last patch or whatever. I don't even play Destiny. I've heard about it, right? And so that's what happens, and they don't want that. And so they try to control that. And as him being, part of the stream team is like, oh, you're only supposed to say good things about us. What are you doing? Like, you can criticize, but not really. And if you don't do it in the right way, then like it's not okay. And there can be ways where they're unprofessional and what have you, but that's just the way that these things work. And I think he probably had a very like strong reaction because it came out of left field. He wasn't expecting this to happen. This is the kind of stuff that someone who had mentioned this video to me before didn't really know. They weren't familiar with this and this kind of thing that a company would do, and they're like surprised by it. And I was like, no, of course that like this is not surprising at all to me.
A few other people for their input. And at the end of my introspection, it felt bad. It felt like I was a private punching bag for at least one developer or executive over at ZeniMax Online Studios who didn't have the courage to approach me directly or at least communicate what they really felt to the public, and instead took it out on me for being honest about how people, including myself, were feeling. I was kind of in shock as well because this was the first time since I joined their creator program in 2020 to basically censor my content, despite the ESO stream team guidelines saying, yeah, you don't have to be a cheerleader, but you should be constructive, which I I was. And this was when things got extremely lonely.
Yeah, this is that like gray area where they're like, yeah, 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 like you can say bad things, but like also only kind of, and also there is also the other aspect of that they do want you to be professional, right? Especially if you're associated with a company. It's actually one of those things that I have been very surprised with other creators that have been part of the ESO team that they were part of the ESO team because I knew them by reputation and I was surprised that they would allow people that I thought were that I had observed on streams to be toxic, that I had negative experiences with, that had released videos making fun of people and basically just being mean. And it's like most of the time that's not brand safe. That's not, your brand doesn't want to be associated with that kind of behavior. And so I've always been surprised. It could just be that no one's like checking their content, and so no one's someone's asleep at the wheel. But I have continually been surprised by ESO that they will allow that. Another thing that happens, and I actually talked about this on last night's PoE stream, we went from the PoE stream into a reaction video, actually, just kind of spontaneously, where someone was talking about like people that give really bad PoE advice and misleading advice. It's actually a huge problem in the gaming community in general, but game companies only care how many subscribers and what your reach is, right? What your influence is. That's why they call us influencers. And so they'll sponsor people to do videos who do videos that will make you have a bad experience playing the game because they're lying to you. They're just making things up. And, but companies will do that because they only care about how many people might buy the game. They don't really care. It's not that they don't care. They can't draw a line between you having a bad experience because you watch somebody's video who gave you really bad advice that will eventually make you quit the game. First off, you already bought the game, and then they're like, well, some number of people quit and whatever. So they can't draw a line from the money, right, to them losing money eventually. And if you get 100 people to buy the game and 90 of them quit, they don't care that only 10 people are still playing. They care that 100 people bought the game. And so that's how game companies typically work. And even game companies that I like the makers of PoE 2, have done this and picked people that have been caught featuring like faked parses on their website, like Hack the Minotaur has, right? Um, and as far as I know, he never did an apology video or anything else about that. And so, PoE sponsored him to do a video. The video actually seemed fine. I watched part of it, but I personally, if I was a company, would not want to be associated with that. But they, generally speaking, and I think the makers of Path of Exile do care and would care if they knew. I think they probably just don't know. But most companies wouldn't even care, even if they knew.
And depressing for me. On one side, I was being used as a punching bag behind the scenes, which I couldn't really talk about at the time. And on the other, thousands of you guys labeled me as a corporate shill or someone who can't be trusted to not speak my mind because I didn't quit the game, despite me trying my absolute best. Absolute.
I mean, he was in a tough spot too, like, right? Like, that's what his channel's about. If he were to just like suddenly quit ESO, like, things would not go well for his channel. That's like his career. And that's another way that the companies can kind of control what you do as a streamer. And it's why I would strongly encourage everybody out there to not only play one game if you're a streamer. I think it's a horrible idea. I considered that when I first started this channel here, and I looked and checked for videos and tried to find advice. And there's so many people that'll give you just garbage advice, and it's like you gotta parse through it. I would just say my advice to anybody who's streaming is stream mini games and find the audience that's interested in multiple games.
The hardest behind the scenes to speak for you. I felt like I had no way to win, so I just did what I always did. I spoke my mind. I made videos I wanted to make. I made builds I had fun with. I managed my.
I'm sorry to keep pausing. I was saying that, there's the being a public figure and being able to deal with some of what he's talking about is interpersonal stuff. It's not like someone being mean to you on the internet. And it does sound like that. I could see how that would be harder. And it does sound like it was when it's, people at the company.
My guild, but it did feel lonely and tremendously stressful for me to the point that I got shingles for the first time in my life and I had to go to the hospital. And 2023 was an interesting year where it became even more clear to me that for some reason there was obvious favoritism and cliques within the ESO stream team.
I just want to say, I don't know if this is the best video for me to even be reacting to. I mean, he's telling us about his like personal life and some issues that he had and what have you. And I mean, what is there to say about it? Like feel bad that he had, some issues and what have you. I don't know. We'll see if this continues and stuff like that. But I'm not going to have anything to say about this.
That stuff was always there. I never noticed because I never really bothered to involve myself in that kind of stuff because I have better things to do. Another content creator and I, along with some close confidants, felt that we were basically there to fulfill the minority checks at that point, despite them maybe not liking us because we're Asian. You got to have some Asians, some gay people, and certain types on the team because it looks good.
Yep.
I'm not saying that was their intent. However, that's how it honestly felt when some of us were offering, and this is a big deal for those who don't know, we were offering to showcase the Elder Scrolls Online in our front page feature streams on Twitch during Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month or other months, and we were reaching out to coordinate something, maybe to showcase ESO.
Guys, Someone tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like, he's just telling us, like I said, just about his like personal life. And this is unfortunate. Sounds like it caused some health issues for him. And, if all the other stuff with ESO didn't make him quit, but this did, obviously it's pretty bad. I have nothing but sympathy for him. And, I made comments earlier, like I've had some not good experiences. I and what have you with Nephis, like those, like, I can be like, yeah, I haven't had great experience with this person. I maybe don't, I don't really have, I don't know him that well. I don't really know him. So I certainly don't, so I don't really have any feelings really at all or whatever, but I can certainly have a lot of compassion for him that he went through this thing. And he can also have been a jerk to people and stuff before. Those both things can be true, right? A lot of times people that, hurt people is a phrase, that I hear, or that I've often has stuck with me. And so, you realize that the person who's like hurting someone else probably had some messed up stuff happen in their life. And I've got nothing but compassion for people, on both sides. Not that you shouldn't stop somebody and people shouldn't, have to have consequences for their actions and what have you. But I don't really think that, I don't know. We've watched a lot of this video, and there's been a little bit. This is not super ESO related. It feels mostly like about his personal life. I wish him nothing but the best, but I don't really think that I have anything that I'm going to be able to say to this or react to this. And so I think I'm just going to call it here, guys. I think we're going to call it here. Again, both those things can be true. I hope that things go better for him in the future, and yeah, that's really all I have to say about this. And I don't really think that, like, what am I gonna say? We're just kind of watching. This is unfortunate. I feel like I'm watching like reality TV in a public setting, and that just feels weird, and I don't really have anything to say. Mel says the video raises questions about Zos's behavior as a gaming company and their relationship with the stream team and the marketing. Cool. Yeah, that's fair, Mel. I'm sure there's a lot like in here, but also a lot of this stuff is personal. I 100% believe that, some bad things have happened or what have you. I have also seen, as I mentioned, I've seen Nephis publicly be very mean to people, and so it's weird to see like both of these things. Both things can be true at the same time, but like I just don't. This is not my story. I don't know that I have anything to say or add to it. Is all I really have to say. So we're gonna call it here, guys. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We will. Check it. No, I need to see the Gino part. Okay. I'm being told I need to see the Gina part. I'm willing to go. Is this Amsterdam here? Where is it at? Where is it at? Do we know where the timestamp is? Is it the Amsterdam part? I'm a little bit worried that like this is going to be like
Hundreds of people told me they wanted to meet me for the first time in
Oh my
person
God.
for both events.
Oh my God, he's got a bandolero and that hat.
And I was telling my partner Becca,
Is he in Texas? Is this the one they did in was it Dallas or Austin or something?
We should IRL stream these events because not everyone can make it to Amsterdam in 2024.
Amsterdam.
Not everyone
He's
can
got
make
the
it to
hat in
Baltimore
Amsterdam.
or wherever else in America.
Did he pack that hat? Is he? Oh, it's on his. It's on his wall. Oh, I didn't know. Is this like? Is he kind of like country? I didn't know this. It's on his wall, so maybe he's just like, I had no idea. All right.
We were fully committed.
Is he my people? Is he from the South or something?
We're willing to pay like $2,000 each for flight tickets, paying like $500 or so for the streaming backpack to go online in Europe. We set aside funds for personal expenses like food, hotel. And
okay,
suddenly
I'm being told Okay, I still might end this, guys, but I will. He lived in Houston. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. So he's my people. Okay, also from from Tejas. Okay, cool. I did not know that. That's interesting.
Go ahead and raise your hand, then I'll kind of run over because we only.
Do we?
Daniel Moncada, and other Twitch partners I've made friends with. People are taking selfies with me there or talking to me about how they're glad they met me, and I'm setting up the backpack camera to capture Payne's DJ set when something unexpected happens.
Go ahead and raise your hand, and I'll kind of run over because we only have one mic. And we also don't want to like block off walkways and stuff, and then comes a fire hazard, and then we all
Is that okay? So this is more of the community team.
have to leave, so like we're all going to behave. The other thing I want to say is, you know, this is TwitchCon, but we would appreciate no live streaming.
Sorry, I should let this roll.
Really?
Yeah, really.
What about Payne's DJ?
Well, Payne is streaming himself. That's different.
From here?
I'm being serious.
No, from
Listen,
here.
we're not going to start until Nevis puts his camera on.
All right.
The pressure is on.
Bye, Chad.
But he's streaming from this backpack, just a heads up.
We're not streaming from anywhere.
I felt
Yeah. People laughed there, guys, because that sounds crazy. No live streaming at TwitchCon. But all right, whatever. I don't know. It was a bit humiliating. Yeah. I think Gina really impacted him. I just think it's funny the streamer streaming at TwitchCon would be Mel, it's hilarious. Yeah, that's why everybody laughed and then was like, wait, are you serious? There's no like saying no streaming at TwitchCon is like, yeah, that's wild.
something in that moment, and I couldn't tell what it was. And it wasn't until after I talked to some people about it more that it was the feeling of public humiliation. Like the first time I've ever felt such a feeling in my life. It was super awkward. Everyone's heads and eyes swiveled to me, and I'm just over here not caring about their Q&A session where they will dodge people's questions anyway. I'm just there for Payne's DJ set and nothing else. And initially, I didn't think that interaction was that big of a deal, but my phone started blowing up as my friends that came with me to the event turned to me and whispered to me, "Are you okay? That was weird. What the hell is that? Bro, I got your back." I checked my phone, and there's people messaging me who had been watching the live stream up until that point, commenting on how rude that was, how inconsiderate that was, how it was public humiliation, and on and on. So I'm feeling a little overwhelmed at this point. I go to the front of the venue away from everybody else with my streaming setup and some of my friends. And at this point, I think Payne in the Axe is also a little stressed out because, you know, he can't stream his DJ set despite being told he was allowed to, which got me a little upset for him. After a while, as I'm filling my friends in on the other bullshit that I've talked about already in this video, I get approached by the community manager for a one-on-one conversation, which prompts my friends to go somewhere else in the venue. And I get asked if I was angry about being told I couldn't stream, or it was how I was asked to not stream. I told them word for word, I don't give a shit about this ESO meetup. I was only there for Payne and TwitchCon, which is why I'm there in San Diego. And yeah, it was pretty rude. It was pretty inconsiderate, given the many other options that they could have gone with. Why not pull me aside and
So something was handled kind of poorly, and his like feelings were hurt. I don't know how this is different than what we were listening about earlier, where I was like, I'm going to bail on this, but I'm going to hear you guys out. And I'm going to try to get this a couple more minutes
to not stream? Or, you know, I had run into them, by the way, while I was streaming and walking around San Diego the day before, and they could have told me that instead. I mentioned that my anger is due to a buildup of many things, and not just this.
This is a lot of this is like interpersonal. Is this the? I mean, it looks like there could be a DJ set up over here. Is that what this is? So he's like ready to record this, and then he's called out in front of a bunch of people, and that, you know, felt like public humiliation, which he didn't actually take that hard until maybe some people said something to him or whatever. I'm sorry that he had a bad experience. I've seen him be meaner. I've heard him be meaner to people in raids. It's not in person, so maybe it's not the same. You know, it feels different, hits different, or whatever. But I don't think that people in raids feel that way. It's not that it's okay when, you know, two wrongs don't make a right or whatever. I am I just don't have anything to say about this guy. So we really are going to call it here. I mean, I'll say a few more things, but like, yeah, it's not right. It's not great or whatever. It seems like it was the straw that broke the camel's back. He had a really bad experience. That's unfortunate. Some of the stuff that he mentioned, I'm surprised he didn't have problems a lot sooner. And it sounds like he just didn't kind of know how this stuff worked a bit, which, is unfortunate. And yeah, Bob, that sucks. I'm sorry that he had a bad experience. Yeah, I don't really, I hope that, they will learn from this and figure out, someone approached him and said, is it what they said or how they said it? Like, they knew what was wrong. An apology should have been what was forthcoming by the person who did it. And that would have been the more appropriate thing, especially once you realize that something has happened. That's the right thing to do. I have had experiences where I have made people feel bad in a raid or trial or what have you, where that was not my intention, but then afterwards I'm like, God, I messed up there. I'm whatever, so we all make mistakes. I don't want to run anybody through the ringer for making mistakes. It does suck. It sucks for him. It sucks that this was, it's just a little weird for me. Cause it's like, he seems this video is very well done. He seems very sincere. I've also, seen him do some mean things to people. I hope we all learn and grow, right? And we just try to do better tomorrow, and that we do better things. Again, I made mistakes. A lot of people thought it was very hateful for me to call for Gina, her firing before, and a lot of people were very upset with me about that. I'm less worried about people being upset. I'm more worried about doing the wrong thing, and yeah, anyways, I don't know. I don't really have much else to say besides I hope we all can grow from this at some point. Guys, I will tell you, I don't think I'll be doing this kind of content right here is not at all what I want to do on the channel. This kind of content, yeah, I enjoy and is fun. This is not at all what I want to do. So we will try to avoid this sort of content in the future. I apologize. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with this being a video or whatever. I just don't want to be reacting to it. It's just not the kind of content I want to do. Yeah. Anyways, so we'll call it here. Appreciate all you guys watching. I think we got some plans for the future. I think there's a couple other things that I want to kind of chat about related to more of the, this kind of update kind of stuff like that. And so, look out for it. I don't know when I'll be able to do it. I'll have to make some plans and what have you. But you guys have a great evening. And yeah, I appreciate it. Mamba, Chicken, Mel. I would say everybody. Normally, I say everybody's name in chat, guys. Heresy, Wampus, Book Magic. Should we go through? I'm going to go through and say everybody's names. Goose, Canadian Goose, Nani, of course, Apocryphal Soldier, Book Magic. I probably already said that. Daedric. This is kind of fun. I don't normally only have a couple of names. Wedemar. Who else? I'm going to miss some. Guys, if I miss you, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Who else? Oh, no. My chat only goes up so high on this app. I can't see. Victor V. Casual Gamer. Casual. Awesome, man. I haven't seen you in a while. It's good seeing you in the stream. I can only go up so far, guys. So I know there's a lot more. Chad, Daedric, Rain, Joel, we already said Nani many times, probably. Anyways, I know there's more. I appreciate all you guys stopping in and chatting. It was a great time. Hope you guys have a great evening, and we'll catch you in the next one.